Welcome everyone to the first annual special budget meeting for the Richmond Select Board. Do we have any public comment? Any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Hard.
I shared an email with you earlier today, but I observed that in past years we have historically identified a loose target, like what percentage increase would we like to hold ourselves to, recognizing we can't always do that. And we've used inflation indices in the past to do that. So I just contemplate whether we should do that again this year.
I think we should. I think it's a good practice to do.
Mhm.
I suggest that we rephrase it as a target not to exceed, not a target to hit.
Right.
Because if we come in under,
And now are we talking in terms of tax increase or are we talking in terms of budget increase? Try to keep the budget increase below this number? Is that what we're saying?
I think both should be talked about, but ultimately it would be the tax increase.
Right.
Because
I think that's been our focus in the past, more on the tax increase. But I think my personal take, I think David's correct. It's worth perhaps looking at both compared to an inflation
Right.
index of our choice.
I know last year was interesting because we spent less money, but our taxes went up.
So what would you guys like to do that? Do you want to do that like right before we jump into the budget or at the end of the evening? At the end of the budget?
I think it would make sense to start with that, just so we have a
target.
Do that right after C, so add it in there.
Or, we could phrase it as a benchmark or whatever. We're not, of course, obligated to not exceed that, but I think it is relevant because I think taxpayers tend to use that kind of reference when they contemplate their tax bills.
You want to do it right after C, right before we jump into the budget review? Okay,
Yes, oh, sorry, yes, we'll add it between C.
start between C and D. So we get through some of the procedural stuff and then we start to talk about. Or we could do it right after health insurance if you want to do that, because then the next two are unassigned funds and budget meetings. So I would say either between A and B or C and D.
Let's go between A, so it's before all of our internal budget stuff.
Okay,
Or sorry, after A, between B.
sounds good.
Any other changes, additions, deletions? Moving on, A, we have consideration of approval of a 2026 health insurance plan for the town staff, or plans, sorry.
So we're joined by Gail LaFond from Acrosure, and Gail, we'll turn it over to you to walk us through this. We contract with Acrosure to help us make sense of health insurance and the increases that happen every year. Gail's got a nice presentation. Do you want me to share a screen for that, or do you have that?
I do have that here. I can share. Actually, am I allowed to share screen?
Yep, there you go. I just turned it on for you.
Okay, great. I don't know that you necessarily want nor need me to go through the entire presentation. I will, if you can just confirm if you can see.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let me move this. It went to the wrong screen, but that's okay. We can fix that. Can you see the presentation?
No, we see
Your folder.
yeah.
Okay, so then it's
Desktop.
over here, right there.
Now
How's
we
that?
can see it.
Yes.
Okay, excellent, great, thank you. So essentially what we prepared and provided Josh and Connie with last week was some high level information, just a general agenda that we discussed with some of the emerging trends. Again, I don't know that necessarily we need to go through all of that information. It's really some food for thought about what's going on in the current market nationally. We brought that down to the state level, and then of course that brings that all the way down to what's impacting the town of Richmond. High level, we're looking at rates and costs that inflation has just been unstable and it's unsustainable and has been for several years, as you all know. We've seen some pretty good headway and moving in the right direction this year, which has been great. I will just I really like this slide. It's pretty telling when you look at it for yourselves and any of the employees, et cetera, who are looking at the rates and where they've gone. You guys are in the Vermont marketplace, right? So those small group, Vermont Health Connect. Well, each of the states has their own marketplace. And what we did is we kind of benchmarked what those look like. So this is all 50 states plotted out. You can see Vermont is this green line. We were sort of in the middle of the pack back in 2018. And we have just continued to escalate in pricing all the way up to where we are current in 2025. You can see these rates. These are the average rates amongst the plans that are available for groups on Vermont Health Connect. So we are well above and leading in probably not the greatest way that we should be leading the pack here. But this has been where we have landed up till now, which makes those rates very challenging for you and for the taxpayers, right? Because they are ultimately funding that budget that supports the medical care. So we are constantly looking at this for you, for the town, for the employees to try to mitigate where we can. You can kind of see here, we're in New England, this pocket that's got a lot of the dark blue, which are the most expensive states. Those other 3 states that we saw, here they are, sort of the outliers that are kind of scattered throughout the rest of the country. Let's skip this. This is just more general information. This is the quick agenda. Not that most of you don't keep up with these things. We all see them in the news. We hear about them, but these are just some high-level overviews of what was happening in the Vermont legislature and Green Mountain Care Board, just to keep everybody aware of what's happening.
I just want to call your attention, just go back for a second.
Sure.
The bottom right corner, the request and what Green Mountain Care Board authorized, there's some pretty stark differences there, which
Yes.
really surprised and I'll be honest, encouraged me a little bit because in years past, those 2 numbers were a lot closer.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. There were some major things that did occur that created those. This House Bill 266 with the cap on infusion drugs, capping the cost over. So you've got the price of the actual medication, the cap over that is now capped at 120%, versus some of the hospitals were charging over 300%. So that in itself has basically provided some significant savings for the 2 insurance carriers in the Vermont Health Connect, which is Blue Cross and MVP. So they then turned around, reevaluated their original rate requests and asked for a reduction in that. Brett?
Just for the uninitiated, could you define briefly what infusion drugs are?
Sure. So infusion drugs they're typically high cost. They are actual injectable drugs. So you're usually in a hospital setting. So they're very high cost because you're typically in a hospital setting or some sort of a provider setting when those are administered. So think cancer treatments often, right? So kind of helps people to gather the sense of what the cost is for those drugs. And yes, they came down significantly, and we are very happy. Like I said, encouraging year this year with some changes and some movement. Just about the GLP-1 drugs, those are high cost. Those have been impacting the plans significantly. You can see here where some of that cost is coming from and driving expense within the medical plans on the prescription drug side. And this doesn't even bring us to 2025. This is from Kaiser, so it's a couple years old at this point, but we'll get some updated next year.
I've seen a number of insurers who had been covering Wegovy for weight loss with authorization simply saying we can't, full stop, no matter how severe your bariatric situation is, we're just not covering it. We can't.
That is correct. Going forward in 2026, all Vermont Health Connect plans, whether you are on Blue Cross or MVP, it does not matter. They will not be covered again, but that will only be for the weight loss portion of it. If you are on one of the diabetic drugs, those will be covered. Level setting. So you guys are with MVP and have been for over 13 years. You have about 13 participants on the plan. And those final rates did come out on an average for Blue Cross of 4.4, MVP at 2.5. You do cover the long-term disability and short-term disability. Those are in rate holds through 2026, June 30th, 2026. So no changes there.
Now, if I remember correctly, in years past, Blue Cross would level spike, whereas MVP was more of a gradual linear increase. Is that the case?
Blue Cross has almost always been higher. I don't think there's a year that they were necessarily significantly lower. They were a little closer in price. Recollection is there's a 1 year in the last 6 that have been that way. Right now, there's on average, there is a 15% delta between MVP's rates and Blue Cross Blue Shield's rates across the board. Their plan design, some of them are standard and they are absolutely identical from one carrier to the other. They also have non-standard plans. So they are not identical, but they are similar. So you can usually find a similar plan, one carrier or the other, but the cost is significantly different between the two of them. That's illustrated on this page here. This is just the Platinum plan. So Richmond sponsors 2 different plans. This is the Platinum plan. You can see here the current, followed by the same exact plan being renewed, with Platinum for 2026 is going to go up at 1.09% with MVP. Now, if you were to consider going to Blue Cross, I would not recommend it, but if you did, your cost would go up 17% to get that same exact plan at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Vermont. So that's one of the 2 plans is 1.09%. The bulk of your enrollments are on that plan. And then we flip over to that gold high deductible plan. The gold high deductible plan, again, we're seeing 2.06% for an increase if you stay with the MVP. And if you do go over and wanted to choose to go up to Blue Cross Blue Shield, it becomes a 13.09. So our recommendation, as you can see, would be to stay with MVP for the coming year and ultimately save significant dollars in healthcare spend. And these are, for the last several years, been double digit increases. Yep. So for a change, it is very nice to see modest increases. Everything that's on these pages, anything that is in red is a change in coverage. The red indicates that there's an additional out-of-pocket expense that is a change from the previous year. Or in this case, it's a change from what MVP is to Blue Cross on the end. We do have one minor change here that is in green. That is a reduction in cost. Just to sort of level set what some of that is that you're seeing. And kind of wrapped all of this up into one. And here's the silver plan. Nobody's enrolled on the silver plan, but it's available should somebody want to do it. The silver did receive overall, though, a 5% increase. Silver and bronze plans at MVP both got anywhere from a 3 to a 5. So they saw the largest increases this year overall amongst all the plans. Some of that has to do with simply the fact that the other plans, the platinums and the golds, had gotten a little bit unattainable. So there were a lot of employer groups that actually shifted downward in tiers. And so some of that expensive risk has shifted downward, so they had to increase the rates on those silver and bronze tiers to keep up.
Yeah.
This is so you take all of those plans, high level, roll them all up, and that's what this page is here. We laid out the cost annually for each of the plans. These are total premiums that you'll see up here for platinum, gold, and silver. This fourth line, it says HSA contributions for the gold. The way the contribution strategy is structured, you cover 90%, the town covers 90% of the platinum plan. Employees pay 10%. And if an employee wants to choose, say, the gold or the silver plan, if someone was enrolled, you will give them the value of 90% of the platinum plan to put towards one of the lower plans, and the balance of that can be deposited into an HSA. So that's where this HSA contribution comes from. So essentially, you are funding 90% of the platinum plan for every person that is enrolled on the Town of Richmond plans. This is the high level total that you would spend. Brad.
Well, I'm just going to state what I think is the obvious behind these assumptions, that assumes that we have the same employees making the
Yes,
same choices.
100.
So I
That
just
is correct.
sort of a footnote, if they made different choices, it would have a modest impact on these numbers, right?
Right. It would impact going whether somebody is going up or down a tier, right? So that will change. Or if you have anybody new that enrolls on the plan or leaves the plan. So yes, these are all projected based upon current enrollment at this exact point in time. And so this is your total, right, that you would pay. Here's your 10% contribution strategy from your employees out of their paychecks listed here. We net that out. To be full circle, we added in the fees for our services for the entire year, which are here. Again, giving you a final cost. Staying with MVP based upon current enrollment, nets you out 1.08% for approximately $3,300 annually for this year, coming up in 26.
Any questions?
Well, I
I
would
think-
just observe, I really appreciate this presentation. It's really succinct, and the detail, such as it is, and this summary, I think is really useful and accessible. So thanks for putting this together.
It's my pleasure.
I think it does a very good job making a compelling case for the option that we're prepared to elect.
Yeah.
Excellent. And the rest of it really is just general information, just HSA information for those folks who are enrolled, right? We just like to keep everybody updated on all compliance. So that's the rest of the presentation, is just making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. Part of the fees that you're paying for.
And we are covering 100% of dental and vision, full stop. There's no contribution.
100% of dental, but not vision. The police union contract does get dental and vision.
Okay, but you, for example, don't get vision. Is that an option or?
It is, yes,
Okay,
but the
but there's
employee
no
pays
contribution.
for it.
Okay.
So
How much is the cost of the vision plan?
I don't.
It's
think I
okay if you
actually
don't. It was
know
just-
that much.
I didn't figure it would.
It's like maybe 30 something a month, depending on if you're a single or a family plan.
Okay.
Anyone have anything else?
I do not.
Thank you.
Okay, all set. Well, I will stop sharing.
Yes, we
I
can move
think-
on to,
Motion to approve.
oh, right, we need to do that.
To be honest, I am not as familiar with, if somebody would tell me how to stop sharing, that would be great. I am not familiar with Zoom. Is there a quick way to discontinue?
There should be a red button that says stop sharing, or we can take it away from you.
You like hover over the top of your screen, it should pop down with a stop
Right.
share.
Yeah, it does not show up, believe it or not. There it
Place
is.
current
It's,
sharing
I've
and
got
current-
3 screens and it was hidden on the third one way
Yeah,
over on the
that'll
other
do it.
side. Here it is. No wonder I didn't see it. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that.
I guess on to,
Nope.
Yeah, we have to.
oh,
approve
sorry,
the-
I'm drawing a blank. Okay, would someone like to approve this, or do we want to approve the recommended plan? What do we want to do?
You've got the motion there,
Uh,
line 51.
Mr. Chair, this is David. I move to offer the MVP Platinum Plan with 90% of the premiums paid by the town and 10% of the premiums paid by the employee. And to also offer the MVP Gold 3 and Silver 2 high deductible healthcare plans with the town paying 100% of the deductible and contributing to a health savings account in an amount equal to the difference between 90% of the platinum premium and 100% of the premium of Gold 3 or Silver 2.
Motion, do we have a second?
I was waiting to see if Barb wanted to. This is Jay. I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
So just to recap, it sounds like the increase is between 1% and 2%, which is less than what I think we're going to be shooting for. I looked up the Northeast CPI and it's 3.3%. So this is good.
You calculated the tax rate increase?
That's all done. We can go home now.
Okay.
On that note, any more discussion? Calling to a vote?
Bard, aye.
Jay, aye.
David, I.
Adam, I. Represent 4 of us. Great, thank you. Now we can actually move on to,
Thank you, Gail.
thank you.
Thank you.
To,
Bye-bye, everyone.
A1, I guess, what are we gonna call it? A.5. So our discussion about our target increase. I know, David, you just mentioned the.
Yeah, Adam, I just looked it up. Somebody check me, make sure I'm right, but it looks like the Northeast CPI for 2025 is 3.3% with an increase in October of 0.4% over last year. So it sounds like, and I'd appreciate a second look. Sounds like we should be looking at not going over a 3.3% tax increase for the next fiscal year.
Barring anything very seriously weird happening to the CPI over the last 4 months.
So I looked up the CPI as well for New England from August of last year to August of this year, and it was slightly higher, 3.7%.
Okay.
Same ballpark.
Well, let's go with that because that's more specific than the Northeast.
That's the number that we usually look at when we set the rate of increase for the pay scale in the spring.
So I don't know if this needs to be a formal motion or just a recommendation for a target, but either way, I would propose that we set the target next year tax rate not to exceed 3.7% increase. I
think
worded it that way because I don't want to hold us to a 3.7% increase in the very unlikely situation that we're at a negative number. I don't think we should say, nope, we need to stick it at 3.7.
No, absolutely, but I think that's a reasonable
I
goal.
think 3.7 should be our target not to exceed.
I don't know if you want to lock yourselves in with a motion, just.
Yeah, I think-
No, I just think it's this.
Keeping it in mind is a good idea.
Yeah,
I think it should just go, this is Bard, of course. If I recall our past practice is just to agree if by consensus, that's our target. And
Yeah.
we may come in below or above that, but that is what we would seek to do is come in below 3.7.
sounds good.
Seems settled.
3.7.
So now we can adjourn, right?
Yeah, nice.
So on to B, a discussion of unassigned funds and restricted funds. You wanna?
Yeah.
Synopsis of this, Josh?
Just mostly read from what I've already written. Excuse me. I'm gonna share a screen though for a minute. Okay.
So Josh, while we're pulling that up, still no news on expected FEMA reimbursement?
Nothing that I'm ready to share this evening. I know Duncan's got a number of spreadsheets and he has a lot more information on the obligations that are pending. And what we're gonna do for unassigned and restricted is before the next meeting, look at those obligations that are coming our way. And then also look at some outlays that we know are probably coming up, on things that pickleball courts came out of unassigned funds essentially for this fiscal year. And there'll be other vacancy savings in police. So similar to last year, we'll use, just look over to this page. This page might look familiar from last year's budget, where we started out with where we were at with unassigned or restricted funds at the end of the year, projected increases or decreases, and then we come out with a sort of projected year-end balance for unassigned funds and restricted funds, which we'll then use to see, is there any money to put towards the tax rate?
Okay.
But yeah, we just don't have all that information gathered for this evening.
We get various hopeful soon, but that's not very concrete.
From FEMA?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounded, I think it was about 2 months ago, I had a conversation with a representative and he's like, oh, we're getting really close, which is encouraging. And I know Duncan meets with them every week or every 2 weeks, and Pete's been very involved as well to kind of give the final details. And Pete or Duncan does have a sheet together, so we need to sit down, go over that, and then really look at other projected ups and downs, so we can come back with a more accurate number at the next meeting.
So as of today, we haven't heard any news that we're not getting reimbursed.
Yeah, I think that all the news I've heard is that we're on track to get reimbursed. They're just going through their normal requests for additional information as they want to verify that, we used all the rock that we bought to fill holes that were caused by the storm, essentially, and that all the labor went towards that as well.
Okay. Bard?
My question is whether these FEMA staff are actually working or not.
So that's a great question. They actually are working.
He's not getting paid.
Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't asked him about his salary. That was one of the first things when the government first shut down. I think the next day, Duncan had a meeting and he said, no, he's still here. And they've had.
Yeah, we met for an hour and 20 minutes today and went over some stuff on one of the Hillview culverts just to get that. We have a few other forms for you to sign tomorrow, so we're pushing a couple other projects along. So it's not going fast, but it is getting it's going there.
And then we also have a couple roads, or at least Heinsberg Road is covered by the Federal Highway Administration. They're not covered by FEMA. I think it's due to the classification of road and how many cars it carries per day. That representative is also still working, and Duncan's been working with them on finalizing our claim for Heinsberg Road.
For what it's worth, the bulk of FEMA employees associated with disaster recovery are considered critical, and so they are getting paid and they are working.
Oh,
That's great. Happy to hear that, because I would say that even though they're not responding to an active emergency, it's critical that we get reimbursed.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that consideration from the federal government.
that's good that they're at least still answering the phone.
Yeah, out of 25,000 FEMA employees, only 4,000 have been furloughed.
At least
So
our
that's it.
employee hasn't been furloughed, so that's good.
Yeah, all right, go ahead, Connie.
Question. One of the things I heard was that, yes, the FEMA employees were still working. It was an issue of getting the money from the portion that's shut down to the state. Do we know, because the state actually pays us. They
Go
put it
through the
into our
state.
bank account. So do they get it up front at the end, or as the state requests reimbursements?
I don't know where the money flows or how quickly it does. Duncan, are you aware of that process? Does the state already have the money from FEMA, or do they get it as?
I don't know
requested?
how it flows, but the forms we get for you to sign, that I have a few ready for you tomorrow, is it's from the state. Basically, it's a state rep that then reaches out to you to say, hey, confirm all these numbers you've already confirmed 20 times with FEMA, and you just kind of sign off on that. So yeah, I don't know how it flows from where to where, but the last step is the state pays us.
We could ask and see where the money is. Is it
Yeah.
like maybe it's already in Vermont? I'm not-
Yeah, it'd be good to know, because if it gets obligated and the state already has it, we'll get it quickly. If the state doesn't have it,
That's probably.
it could take a while for us to get it.
Okay, well, let's follow up on that. Okay. So that was a good review of FEMA money. So I want to talk about unassigned and restricted funds and where we're at this year and why we're there. So you take a look right now, restricted funds on the screen are the restricted funds that are restricted use for highway. So they're basically money that's been raised for highway. We'll jump ahead a little bit. There used to be a statute that said any money raised for highway has to stay for highway, can't be used for anything else. So that's how we come with restricted funds for highway use only and unassigned funds. There are surpluses from other parts of the budget that can be used for anything, including highway. That statute has since changed, so you don't have to keep highway money just for highway. But for the purposes of this, since it's historical, we've had it split out between restricted and unassigned. So that's what we're seeing right here is that balance. So you'll notice that restricted is at negative 1.2 million and unassigned is at a positive just under $1 million. So there's a negative combined balance of about $309,000. So during the budget process of FY26 budget, we discussed using the money from the Special Project Reserve Fund and the Bridge and Culvert Fund to pay for the repair costs for the flood, and then we would pay those funds back when FEMA money was received. Well, this was acted on in the budget to essentially create unassigned funds to go towards FY26 budget. A motion was never actually made to transfer the money from those funds to the general fund. The result was an audit showing that we have a negative amount of restricted funds, and those both reserve funds have both stayed positive and show their original balance. So we discussed this with the auditors, and they recommended looking at what we expect to receive from FEMA in FY26, and expected uses of unassigned and restricted funds in FY26, and get a projection for the balances of unassigned and restricted funds at the end of FY26. This will likely show a positive balance, and at that point, we feel open up spending each of the reserve funds. The expectation that unassigned and restricted fund balances would both be positive within the fiscal year. As necessarily, we still have some work to do to get those numbers, but I expect to have that for us by the next meeting. So that's an overview of where we're at with restricted, unassigned, and those two reserve funds that we talked about so much last year. So I'll pause there if there's any question, and I want to talk a little bit more about the difference between unassigned and restricted funds.
Pardon me while I cough. One thing that I think is always wise to do at this point in the process is to remind anybody in the town who is either reading a transcript of this or watching it later is the difference between reserve and other types of funds. Because even I think some of us, I know I have done it, referred to reserve funds, and unassigned funds are not reserve funds. Reserve funds are money set aside for a particular project or purpose. Unassigned funds are simply money that was budgeted for a purpose that was then not spent.
Correct. And restricted funds and unassigned funds are also not double counted, so they're not also in a reserve fund. So at the end of the year, the auditors look at how much cash you have on hand, how much of that is in specific reserve funds like the highway reserve or the fire reserve that is earmarked or there for specific uses, and anything not in those reserve funds is what becomes the unassigned and restricted fund. So essentially the budget surplus that's not assigned to a specific reserve fund. So yeah, that's a good point to remind everybody. So then the next question, I sort of touched on it, was we for the last number of years split out restricted funds and unassigned funds with the idea that restricted is highway, unassigned is everything else. Since the statute's changed, we could combine them and we could just have the auditors show us one lump sum, which would be this 309,000 negative, or we can still have the audit present with restricted and unassigned funds separated. So sort of just wanted some guidance from the board before finalizing the audit as how would you proceed with that. And it's my understanding, even if you keep them separate, you know, if down the road you would like to from restricted funds for something not for highway purposes, because the statute changed, you don't have to keep it reserved for.
So we can keep the visibility of two separate numbers and not be locked into previous restrictions.
Yep.
My preference, and I'm only one member of the board, would be that for audit purposes, we would keep them broken out so that we would be able to say, this is how much we did not spend on highway. This is how much we did not spend on other purposes, stipulating that we can then turn around and say we have an exigent circumstances and we have to take some money from this pot and spend it where we used to be. We shouldn't. But I think for tracking purposes, it's important to keep them different.
I would agree to keep them separate as well, and we actually can't change it right away because it is in our policy that we just signed 2 Novembers ago that 15% unassigned and 15% restricted, not netted, which actually will allow us to use that excess unrestricted towards our budget. So we do have to consider that, yes, we're in the red. However, our unassigned funds are $964,000. When the FEMA money comes in, that will then go to the departments that had those expenses, with the largest portion going to highway, which will then replenish those restricted funds. Also in our policy, we did not allow for rebuilding, like we can't raise taxes to replenish the restricted fund or the unassigned fund.
Correct.
This has to happen
Right.
naturally unless we change our policy. So if we decide we want to net the two together and not keep them separate, which in my opinion, I would keep them separate, we would have to, I think, make a motion to amend the policy that we have.
Mhm.
Sounds like, well, Bard.
Brad had his hand up.
Brad Bard. Brad Hill.
Uh, I don't have a strong feeling about this, but I do observe continuing to use the term restricted funds when the funds are not actually restricted strikes me as not accurate or transparent. So I contemplate, is it possible to change the name since it's no longer restricted?
Such as highway unassigned and general unassigned.
I don't know.
As an example, that might,
That's
We
what the
still have
auditors
to
call it.
change the policy because the policy calls it by certain names.
Well, then, yeah, then we would have to change the wording in the policy, but that's the terminology that the auditors use. So I guess we would have to ask them.
And they probably use that terminology because they find it in our policy.
No,
It's kind of standard, but
I think that the terms predate our policy. Because
So-
we've been using those terms for a number of years in the policy. I think we only put it in place 2 years ago.
Right.
But let's ask the
You can't do
auditors
it
if they
now,
can
right?
change it. Well, let's ask them
Yeah.
if they can change it.
I mean, we
They
could
might-
change the policy, so next
Right.
year, at least.
But when I've gone to VLCT meetings and people have referred to restricted, unassigned, and unassigned, not a person in the room scratches their head. That's just kind of been the universal. Mhm.
Well, we can ask the auditors if they can change it in the FY25 audit. They might just be able to do a find replace. throughout the
I
whole
do
audit.
appreciate though, or that if we were to then take money out of those formerly restricted funds and offset something that was not within highway, the optics and the clarity would be much better for people that aren't familiar if it didn't say restricted.
well, I'm also thinking of like our town budget reports and audits, like if you say, oh, the restricted funds, we use them for something that historically we couldn't use them for. I just think in pursuit of accuracy and transparency, it would be appropriate to call funds that are not restricted something other than restricted.
Agreed.
Okay, we can ask about that and see if we can get that into the audit. Cool, that's all I had for unassigned restricted funds. Unless there's other questions. Good.
I have a quick question.
Good.
Keith, are you measuring that each day?
I'm sorry.
Are you measuring the beard each day to see how long you can get it? Are you measuring the beard each day to see how long?
No, I do it every month though.
Every month. Okay.
About 2.5 inches a month.
It's good. I guess we're on to C, which in light of all the changes we're talking about, seems premature, but consideration of setting a final budget meeting prior to finalizing the budget for consideration by the voters. Try to set a date now, or are we?
Yeah, I wanted to put this on there because like last year, I think we should have got to the end and we're like, gee, it'd be nice if we had one final meeting we
Yeah.
could invite everybody to. So I kind of wanted to set a date and work backwards a bit. And I picked the week.
Also gives us more time to communicate that date.
Yeah, I picked the week of January 6th through 8th because that would, if there are some changes, that gives us some time to make changes and come back to the last regular select board meeting on January 20th before we have to give the final budget number to Suzanne on January 22nd
Right.
for the agenda.
And if I may, we've heard a refrain each of the last several years. You can look back in Front Porch Forum and search in this or use local minutes to find it. But people in some towns have a policy of a particular budget meeting specifically being dedicated to input from the citizenry, as opposed to this one where and in some cases, they will do things like, having pies and turning it into something akin to town meeting where there's refreshments and everybody comes and it's the meeting for citizen involvement. And we've had some requests for that kind of thing here in Richmond as well. There's nothing stopping somebody from walking into any of these budget meetings and saying, here's something I think we should do. And in fact, by my thinking, it would be better to get it sooner rather than at the end. But something of that shape has every year I've been on the board has come up.
Yeah, and that's what I think this could be. It's at that point, hopefully, the select board's to a point where we're mostly final with the budget, and then we're looking for some final input and feedback, and maybe there's a couple ideas that we make some changes.
And pie.
And I,
2026 is that year then. So sure. Is that date's late enough that it gives us plenty of time? Does that give you enough time to make any changes that were come up then? Obviously magnitude.
no, I think so. I mean, if we did it that week, it would give us another week to make some changes, and then we come back at the January 20th meeting for final approval by the board to put that out to the voters, and then we'd give it to Suzanne on the 22nd. We'd be ready to go. So one night that week would probably work.
So it'd be Tuesday, the 6th, Wednesday, the 7th, or Thursday, the 8th, that first week.
This is Bart. I have a conflict on the 7th, so I couldn't do that one. I could do the 6th or the 8th.
The 6th would work better for me.
At this point, they both work fine for me.
I mean, look, I try my best not to plan that far ahead, but I will.
Nothing exciting ever happens on
Yeah.
January 6th.
26th though. It's my birthday.
Oh,
I'm good for any of those days. I guess Tuesday would probably be preferable, but any of them work.
Tuesday the 6th?
Tuesday the 6th. Does that work? Okay.
Gives you more time between the special meeting and the
Yeah.
special meeting.
Should we plan for a tentative second budget meeting in December, just in case?
We haven't, being optimistic that we're gonna be able to do it in 3. But I think our budget meeting in December is the 8th.
I
So
think
if we really needed to, we could do something the week of the 15th or the 19th, or even that Monday, the 22nd, if people are in town. So I think being an earlier meeting in December, we would have some time if we needed to do something quick at the end there.
Are we
Would that be
anticipating-
set at a regular select board meeting or at this meeting?
That one I would wait on and see, like, let's be optimistic and say we can get to the budget by December 8th and finalize it. If we can't, I think that at the 8th, we could just add an extra meeting for later in December.
Okay, I'm just thinking because then the week after the 15th is Christmas week.
Yeah, no, but I think if we had to have a meeting like the week of the 15th for a final budget meeting, or even the 22nd, like, I know that I would have some time. I'll probably be back in town by the 29th or 30th. So I'd have time to put final changes, get something out to the public for the meeting on the 6th. I'd be okay with that.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm taking time off, so.
Yeah. no, but I think if there's any additional changes, hopefully by that point, even if you're not here, I can change the budget and we
Yeah.
can make it happen. So I think we'll be okay. But good considerations with, holiday vacations and how are we gonna. So, okay, so let's shoot for January 6th. I think that'd be good for a public budget meeting. Well, they're all public, but a final feedback from the public budget meeting before it goes
Do
to.
we, very preemptive, but do we anticipate needing a larger space or anything for that? Something we need to, or is that if there's pie?
We could
Make
plan
pie.
for that. We'll have to check. Let me check. I'll check with Suzanne and see if the libraries. Oh, no, painting.
Right.
So the library will not be available on the January 6th because they're gonna do some painting, so we might be, and it's probably not worth it to go to the school on January 6th.
Seems like.
That might be a bit of overkill, so I think we might go with this room with Zoom.
For those interested in the topic of these special budget meetings, I just posted everything Local Minutes has on it, which is
Oh.
considerable there in the chat.
Great. Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Okay. I think we're good to go.
Should I get that in the right calendar? Great. So on to reviewing the draft FY27 budget. How do you want to do this, Josh? Do you want to go over each piece individually before we look at the whole thing, or whole thing first?
Yeah, let's, why don't I give a bit of an overview on some things that kind of affect a number of departments? And then we can go in the order of the agenda if that works for you guys. Okay. So I won't share the screen just yet. All right, so first I want to thank the department heads for being able to be available this evening and hopefully for the next couple of budget meetings. I always find it really helpful to have department heads here because sometimes there are specific questions about a piece of equipment or a specific line in an item in the budget that I can't always answer. So really thank the department heads for spending some extra time on this and all of their time with Connie leading up to the budget meeting to build the budget. Okay, we talked about unassigned funds a bit already. So spot them. All right, so some general notes on the budgets, the major cost drivers of this budget. One is funding a full-time police chief. This is an increase from FY26 budget, which was providing for half a chief that we were splitting with Heinsberg. We also have a fairly sizable increase in the salaries of the police department, anticipating that we might raise that wage grade to try to remain competitive with surrounding agencies and attract and retain police officers. We also proposed a slight wage increase for the fire department firefighters. That's reflected in the budget. Increase in contribution to reserves in multiple departments. Last year, we were really thin on reserves. Connie did a good job of looking at her capital plan and saying, well, how low can we go for FY26, knowing we had some budget challenges. But then that ultimately pushed forward a few of the contributions to the reserve fund. So there's a large, I think it's about a $300,000 increase from last year to this year across all the reserves.
Sorry, that was
yeah.
across all the reserves, or that's across specific reserve?
That, let me actually have
I remember looking at it, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, let me pull up that, so make it the actual number rather than winging it there. I just looked at that today. So. In the general fund, so not highway, we were at $480,000 in FY26, and we're at $340,000 in FY27. So that's an increase of $160,000 in contributions to reserves from taxes. And in highway, we went from 185 to 515, so that's $330,000 for highway. And again, this is all in the capital plan, all goes back to equipment like plow trucks. So yeah, it's 330 highway, 160 for general. So we're at about a $500,000 increase, $490,000 to reserve funds between general and highway. You'll notice that we reformatted the presentation of the budget to better follow the financial presentation of the audit. Salaries have been updated based on providing a step increase and the grid increasing 3%. Benefits like VEMR, Social Security, and disability insurance have also been updated based on the increased salaries. Health insurance is calculated at what we just went over, which is 90% of the premiums for Platinum Plan and 100% of the premiums for Gold Plan plus a contribution to the HSA. Health insurance opt-outs are calculated at $2,500 for single, $5,000 for employees. The passive insurance, which is basically the town's property casualty insurance, that is budgeted as the same as FY26. They'll be updated later in the budget process as we get firm numbers from passive for 2026. And then as you look at the budget, cells that are highlighted in yellow are items that we'll be getting more information on prior to finalizing the budget. For now, those have either been flatlined or have an estimated increase. We also added some green to the budget because there was a few things from the last time we put it in on Monday, or sorry, on Friday, till today, kind of, we're going through a few things, and we did make some changes, so I think there's about 4 cells that we've made some changes on, and those are in green as we review the budget. So that's sort of a general overview. If we want to jump right into library, unless there's any questions in general about the budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
When did we last put insurance out to bid?
it was a few years ago.
Should we?
If
We're,
you look at it, it's way too late for 26, and when we did it, it's a huge lift to go out to bid for the insurance, but
but we were trying to do it every 3 years, I thought.
I'm not sure if we set a time frame. It's probably been over 3 years.
I remember the last, I know that it happened since I've been on the board because I'm the one who got the job of reviewing it.
That's right, so it was, yeah.
I'm guessing it was probably 2022 because I joined the board in late 2021.
So
So it's,
probably
about
time
3.
to take a look at it again, I suppose.
yeah, I'd agree.
Okay. Just to be clear, that's a months-long process. We won't have that for 6. But for next year, we can look at that.
If anybody is curious about what the last bid documents and responses were, just to kind of get your head wrapped around what we'd be looking at, the documents are out there.
We do have.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll move on to library. Let me just make it. So we do have Suzanne Crone, the library director, joining us this evening. I think sort of the biggest change to the library is, as we were talking about, contributions to reserves. Last year, there was nothing contributed to the library reserve. This year, there's $15,000. If there's any other changes you want to go through, but I think that your staffing remains pretty flat. Everything else is just sort of general increases. And let me pull that up here, so.
Yeah, and I think the only other things that look, you'll notice a couple jarring things, and that's because of either restructuring the categories, or there's one line that, they call the electric vehicle charging station shows up as expense and revenue for us. So on our expense line, it looks like there's a 40% increase, but that's not money that we're spending. That's because the charging stations attached to the library's electric, and it's offset by revenue. Otherwise it's the reserve. It's the biggest change for us.
Mhm.
Oh, and I guess there's a change to our postage line, anticipating that the federal grant for interlibrary loan services won't be happening in 2027. So if it happens, that's great, and we won't spend that. So
And perhaps this year's book sale will just be absolutely fantastic. All I know, that money is kept with the Friends, right? Yeah. But if you have books, they're taking them right now, right? Starting next Wednesday.
Josh, this is Bard. Could you go to the line that's described in your memo? Please.
Your line.
Yeah, thank you. And so I wanted to do that to just draw people's attention to, there was a baseline funding and then last year 0. So it's in the neighborhood of the previous baseline.
Yeah, and again, that is all tied into the capital reserve and future projects. But yeah, last year, like I said, we went as thin as we could on contributions, and that was one of them that we were able to reduce to 0 last year, but now we gotta make up for it. Right. Anything else on library? Okay. Thanks, Suzanne. You're welcome to stay if you want.
I was like, do you want me to go? I can go home.
It's up to you. We'll move on to the fire department. So let's get to the fire department. Here we go. Just a couple of notes, and then I'll let Chief Levesque take a look at it. So we have a proposed increase in the wage rate for the firefighters. So we're factoring in that going from 70,000 to 85,000. Haven't finalized exactly what we want to do there, but right now I think firefighters are about a little over $1 over minimum wage. And then captains and chief and assistant chief are a little bit on top of that. So we'll look at probably still benchmark it to minimum wage, or maybe go like $1.50, $2 or something like that to give a little bit more to the fire department. There are no debt payments in FY 27, so some good news here for fire. If we go down to the debt payments. Right here, we did have about $56,000 or $59,000 in debt payments last year. All of that has been paid off, so we're at 0 for this year.
So
That
the
is a
first
very-
note, the first payment's due on the next truck in the following fiscal year?
We used reserves.
We did the reserves, yeah.
Payments.
Okay.
Right.
That will be paid off as soon as it gets here.
Randy Moss said straight cash, homie. It's paid for it. So we, I mean, that we obviously paid ahead of time. So there was a period of time, how many, was it 4 years where we paid into reserves and we paid
Yeah.
off the previous truck, which was painful, but now we're reaping the rewards of that.
Now we're where we should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and looking at the reserves for fire, we were at 180 contribution last year and it's 190 this year. So really it's a net decrease between debt and a small increase in reserves.
Was the last truck the one that was totaled? Did that one have a note on it?
2011, no, that was paid off.
Okay. I don't know why I had it in my head that there was a note on a truck.
That was that wasn't the 2018?
2018 is in 3.
No, that's right.
No, yeah, engine one
It was engine one.
2011 was engine 1 that got in the accident, which snap out on the road.
And then there was the truck that got flooded out. That one,
That's fine. It's our engine 2.
Best one gone.
I'm just trying to think of all the things that
That's our
happened. to
last
truck.
2 new trucks.
At some point,
That's great.
we need to budget for a train.
Fire train.
Hey, actually, I don't know, have you read the history of Richmond? When the upper block burned one year, I think this was back in like the early 1900s or maybe late 1800s. They actually did bring in a train with firefighters from the Burlington area to help put out the upper block.
But not enough hose.
Not enough hose,
Yeah.
yes. So you've read that story as well.
Yeah, well, they brought it over from Essex.
Okay.
Well, from Burlington to Essex
Essex.
to Richmond, but by the time they had it all set up, they even dug under the tracks to run the hose, but they didn't have enough hose to get to the river.
That's right. I thought they figured something out.
That was too late.
Okay. Yeah, it was a pretty big fire, but there was a fire train at one point.
Yeah.
And
I'm not surprised actually, because
that was the quickest way to move equipment in those days, I'm sure.
Yeah, that block burned twice, and then the last time it was built in masonry.
Yeah, they finally tried to smarten it up a little bit.
It was almost out, but the wind shifted, and then it all.
Notice a big chunk of money that we are not spending this year, and we didn't spend last year either, actually. It's fire department under administrative. Fire department needs assessment.
All right.
We had budgeted $25,000 for contracting it out, and we ended up
did it much cheaper.
getting it done for free partly, and then not needing to follow up with a formally prepared report.
Yeah.
That's a good idea that we probably won't spend that in 26. So I'll put a note that maybe we put that to our projection for unassigned funds.
Yeah.
Because that's something we're probably not going to spend if we haven't done it already.
How much was it?
No.
25,000.
25? I'll put it over
And I
there
do think
now.
there's probably situations where you could spend that doing some kind of assessments of stuff, but it's not gonna be that neat.
There is, well, I've been looking into Alpine and the other softwares.
That's right.
The members at this point said, let's not spend the $9,030 for the first year and $4,300 for the next year. Let's try to get I won't say better under control, but get all our documentation that we need. And hopefully we can handle it in-house. Eventually, with the new system coming on from the state, the fire report should be a lot easier. And that should be rolled out anytime this week or next week. So hopefully a couple of us will be on board with that and see how it goes.
Great.
I apologize, I should know the answer to this question, but do we have security cameras with the fire department?
Yes, you do.
Okay, I thought so, but
And I have a question also that relates to training. I see we're budgeting $1,000 again. It was right there. Is that gonna cover the training? I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Is that going to cover the training that we need? Is there, by spending more money, could we get more and better training and be better ramped up? Jerry?
We can hire people from the state to come in. And most of the time they do the training for free, what we need.
Okay,
We do have a good training officer who keeps us pretty level on what we need every year. And
Okay.
it's,
Is there any trainings that you know, obviously there's always stuff people would like to do, but is there any trainings that you would like to do, you think are necessary that you forego because you don't have money to do it?
that's kind of my question.
I mean, obviously we would like to send everyone off to fire school and stuff.
yeah, but that won't happen with today's economy, that
Exactly.
pays everybody working.
But in the neighborhood of the, you know,
No, but actually the surrounding communities have been great. I mean, we're supposed to have a burn in Williston on the 3rd of November, but people can't get away from their other commitments. Kind of a late notice, but, and they always have like a propane training that we can attend or so. Unless we come up with something big to have here in town. It's nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, thank you for leveraging resources and so forth. I just want to make sure that we give you the resources you need.
Well, I was thinking the capital plan in a couple of years. We'll be going for like 40,000 for new jaws of life and spreaders. That those are just starting to get older.
Did we take contributions back on July 4th when we did the demo? Because that was so popular.
Hopefully the government is looking at the 3 top truck dealers. So they bring the price of fire trucks back down to the normal case. But if we went out to buy a fire truck in the next 5 to 10 years, you're probably going to be looking close to 800,000 to over $1 million.
For a truck you wouldn't get for at least 18 months, right?
Now, some dealers are doing better now, but
Okay.
for reference, Jerry, what would the similarly equipped truck in 2019 cost?
400 to 600,000.
Wow.
And if you go with the commercial, you're talking 300,000. Not commercial, custom.
Right.
You're talking 300,000 right on top, just for a special cab. Go with commercial, you knock that 300,000 off. Like we did with this new rescue truck. Cause we were looking around 900 to $1 million before. We took it back to the commercial truck.
What's the advantage to a specialized cab?
It just gives you a little more room. Instead of 4, you probably get 6 people in it. So now these trucks are 4 people, but we'd have to look at our manpower situation.
We need the people, right?
In 5 or 10 years on where the town goes.
They get a shorter wheelbase too for the same length.
Yeah.
Truck, the tires like under the cabs, it turns better. It's kind of
Early.
There's a lot of.
Oh, you said 804,
$800,000 advantages. versus the
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's
trade-off they made,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Okay, well, thanks for being frugal
do-
with that last one.
Do we want to contribute to that? Knowing the cost of extrication equipment, do we want to contribute to a reserve for that now, or is that something we plan
I think
for?
that's already planned.
I think,
Perfect,
well, I put it in for 29,
perfect.
no, 2 years,
28.
28.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, we have number 1 for 28 and number 2 for 29.
What does that mean? Is that,
The
truck?
portable unit we're replacing in fiscal year 28. The battery powered stored
sorry, honey, is that under,
is
is
scheduled for fiscal year 29.
that in the capital plan?
Yes,
Mhm.
So
we have 40,000 for each. Do I have any more? You're looking at line 18 and 20.
Yeah. So that be, Jerry, do you know off the top of the head, is that of your head, is that replacing a unit, or is that that's for an entire set of
That's
extra?
for an entire set.
Sure.
The jaws, the spreaders. I didn't put any rams in there because the rams. We'll probably buy one more set of ram, but that's only $800 to $1,000.
The rims are that cheap, huh?
Are the Rams to break down like house doors or are they used with cars?
They use them in cars, they're portable units that have a battery that can help us spread the cars.
Okay.
further. Do a dash lift.
Looks like a
Things like
bottle
that.
jack kind of thing, but battery powered.
Okay.
I didn't realize they're that cheap though. That's
Well, they are right now, but those are-
great. Any other questions for Jerry while he's here? Do you have anything else for us that you'd like to say?
The only thing I would like to do is, I put 3,000 into the, physicals. Because over the last year, I've noticed that physicals we were getting were not very good. So I like to put more like blood work, the EKGs, things like that into there.
So they didn't check everything.
Right.
Okay.
It was a quick and dirty. How you breathing, you're talking to me.
Well, I agree, given the age of some of our staff, I mean, it's appropriate for anybody, but we want to make sure that we're not sending somebody out in bad situation.
Seems like money well spent.
And of course, the other normal things are dispatch is going up around 10%, so that. Other than that, just normal. Cell phones are going up. I did put in an extra 1,000 for things to buy offline to give to people. Like we post the big truck day, I have stuff for them. Halloween night, we buy candy out of it,
Right.
this, stuff like that. We go to schools, kindergartens, give them hats and coloring books, so. With the price of that stuff.
Right. We want to get them young.
Yeah.
What is that? Just out of curiosity, I see that our telephone and internet. We have $5,500 for that.
We have 3 lines.
Oh, right. That costs that much a year, huh? Yeah.
Jerry, we had talked about, but never circled back to possibly a new line called uniforms for things like hats, shirts, gloves, jackets, sweatshirts.
You see it. It's just yellow.
It's just yellow. We never circled back to it. He was gonna talk to the guys to see what,
And I forgot.
But that's including things like bunker suits.
I'm thinking like
You separate.
hats that,
Yeah.
like baseball hats,
Oh, okay.
t-shirts.
T-shirt,
So clothing as opposed to gear.
yeah.
Correct.
Teagues.
Fatigue.
That way, if they're
There's
attending something, they're representing Richmond.
So we did buy all the uniforms from the fire department's money, the fireman's money, when we, well, we haven't bought any lately because we haven't had any new members, but. So all the firemen do have uniforms that were bought by the fire and themselves, not the town.
What should we put? Like $1,000 in there to make sure we have something to buy?
It would be great. Yeah.
We can put it in there for now and see where we go.
What color shall I make it?
I'm gonna make it a special color so that I remember that we added it. You can make whatever color. you want.
Mauve.
Did you put color this time?
Mauve.
Mauve. Yeah.
I'm going with purple.
Okay.
Well, mauve is kind of purple.
I don't think I've used purple before.
Oh, yeah, we don't have anything else to put there. Okay.
Is that a requirement to be in the select board too? Is you have to be, you can't be colorblind?
During budget season?
No. I had
Definitely
a
help a lot to
conversation
be.
with a coworker, well, employee one time, he's like, look at the chalk line. He said, the light gray or the dark gray one? He's like, those are blue and red. Okay.
Wait a minute.
There was,
Anything else you would like to add, Jerry, or anything else you got?
Oh, Connie and I have many conversations, so sometimes if I don't write it down, I forget.
we did do a lot of work with, the LCT has a nice platform now that's a lot of free training. I don't know how well that's going. I know we scheduled a bunch of people.
Some of them done, some of them haven't. Normal, just like the code of ethics. No.
How is that going on your end?
Code of ethics, I only got 4 people left.
Wow. That's great.
Turned that around pretty quick.
Super
Wow.
impressive. That's
I'm
crazy.
glad I asked. Great.
Yeah, very good.
Your budget went down and the code of ethics is doing a 180, so I don't know. I should have saved you for last.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to light up, never mind.
On to planning and zoning.
Sure.
Do we want to invite Keith in?
Sure.
Is he too busy to pop out or?
Let me
Was
just
it
see if he's available.
Cost of fire trucks going up, is that? Such an odd thing to have potentially looming over your budget for years to come, but yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Want to go over this? You want us to go over it?
You can go over it. Connie and I have already gone over it. It's pretty basic.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not overly controversial. Some
Yeah, there's
people,
no major staffing changes or any staffing changes at all. So that's all pretty much just our general salary increases and related benefits. I think the one thing that I saw that went up a little bit was transportation planning. Usually that's for the match for CCRPC, Keith. We're planning on probably doing a couple more next year.
yes. So, but that might be offset by some grant money.
Okay, even more
Okay,
so.
because my main focus is going to be on the intersection at Jolena Court and Railroad and Bridge. So that needs a serious scoping on that.
Yeah,
Not
that's a hot
scoping, but a
topic.
study. So I was anticipating having to need a little bit of help with that potentially. And
Notice that transportation planning over the years seems to ebb and flow depending on what projects we have
yeah,
going on and stuff, right?
so it is, I will say it's a fungible number. So with that, and it's kind of based on, you know, what we did, you know, this fiscal year also. Just trying to think with transportation, we get 7,200. Is there a breakout of that? I think we sat down and looked over that when,
Transportation planning, we
Some
went
of
up
that-
to 10,000.
Yeah, I think some of that was probably Bridge Street, Cochrane Road, Huntington intersection study. We had the
Cochrane Road.
Cochrane Road corridor study.
Yeah,
So I knew we had a couple of big ones like that.
and that was this past fiscal year. Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
okay.
FY25.
I forgot, we're not
FY
doing
versus-
calendar years. Okay.
This year we budgeted only 2,500. I think we knew we just got through a couple, so we weren't gonna have much to go with there anyway. We looked at the plan a lot, so it doesn't take a lot of time. So then in FY27, we're looking at an increase to 10,000, like you said, probably for Juliana Court and a few other projects that
Right.
might come along.
And if you'll notice, the planning and zoning budget actually went down, and
Yeah.
a big portion of that is because we had a staff change of someone who was on a family plan going to a $5,000 opt-out.
Hmm.
So that was a savings of over $30,000.
And then,
Well, we're
and
also saving by the money we haven't had to pay Tyler because he's not here.
Well, that doesn't
That'll be
necessarily-
vacancy savings.
that'll be
Right.
vacancy, but not in the budget.
Right.
In the budget, yeah, in the budget, we've got.
No, you need the point.
What would be an actual savings, not a budget?
Right.
Yeah, in the budget here, we've got, I think this is the health insurance line, so that's going from 51,000 down to 25,000. And then you see the $5,000 opt-out right there, so that's a savings of about $20,000. Netted out. For health insurance, as Bart always says, when you have a small staff, the swings in health insurance really go up and go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, one or two people can change it a lot.
yeah, so we did do an increase in training and education. I don't know if you want to, probably don't want to jump all over the place, but
For it.
I mean, there is a little bit of an increase in training to bring Dante up to speed. It's kind of a focus that we're doing. He's in training right now, actually, for a few things.
Very modest increase though.
What's that?
It's a modest increase.
Yeah, modest. It is modest. But also suited to that, is travel. Where is that? Where's training, education includes lodging, so that's,
Travels right here.
yeah, so no, I guess the training education was, we were thinking, and the bump up is we were thinking that potentially there'll be some overnights. Because, not all training is like within driving distance,
Sure.
so sometimes I would love to increase that, but
Not all training expertise is within a couple hours of Richmond.
yeah, I mean, it's stormwater is not Dante's bailiwick, erosion and sedimentation is not, so he's got to be trained up on that.
I apologize. It's been a long day. When did we hire Dante?
2 months ago,
And he's full-time or,
September, yeah,
and he's full-time?
he is full-time, yes.
Okay, I should have known that.
So if you had, obviously we can't do this, but if you had, like we just asked Jerry, if you had any training you wanted or within reason, what kind of trainings are you foregoing that you think would be beneficial to the town and your staff and therefore the town?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean,
Because more so this year's shaping up to be a tough one, but like, it wouldn't be nice for us to have those things in mind as, looking forward. We always want to strive to
yeah,
qualify and train people.
conferences, obviously, but we got lucky last year because it was in Stowe. The planning conference was in Stowe. So we didn't have to stay overnight. We just drove there, Tyler and I. But right now, the same conference is in Massachusetts this year, I believe. And then there's also, he has to get trained up on floodplain management too. That's another thing. And he's actually going to Massachusetts for that next week for a session there. He's driving just one day. He's not spending overnight. So, but there is a national conference in Minnesota. If I had a wish, I would
Yeah.
love to send him there.
The list could go on forever.
Yeah, it could, but it's got to be reasonable.
Yeah.
And really, I think that
We pay him mileage to drive and all that stuff?
yes, yep, we do.
Great.
Yep, and food, 2 meals or whatever meal, if it's not offered or something along those lines.
7-Eleven hot dogs.
Yeah, that's what I tell them. Yeah,
Works for better.
the crackers and
Nope.
toast.
It's not allowed to go to
Potted
Wegmans.
beef.
Yeah, pot-
So the mileage actually would fall under the travel line,
Yes,
and that would be the same, like if you had to pay any tolls or take a ferry or anything like that.
Gotcha. Travel and training, education kind of go hand in hand.
They do. We do travel separately because that'll be reimbursed to the employee through their payroll check.
It's a little easier to keep track of.
Yep.
Realistically, that 4,000 total is kind of all for training, travel,
the
education.
4,500. Oh, we're looking at 27.
A combination of the training and travel, 3,000 to 1,000. I think some of that travel though is just local around town, visiting sites.
This is compliance travel. Yeah. Yeah, and you could,
It's not all state training. Or training, it's not.
yeah, he'll be out more than the previous zoning administrator. He'll be doing more compliance on that. And we're actually instituting stakeouts and the like. We've never done a stakeout inspection.
Cool.
Not many of them, let's put it to you that way. For what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not looking yet. It's
Am I supposed to do this?
it's to make sure that it meets the setback, so they put stakes in the ground before the building is built. Right.
That's much less boring. I mean, much more boring.
Yes, much more. I don't know, I hear stakeouts are pretty boring too.
Permit goes into effect at 7 AM and you start digging at 6:54.
Yeah.
Pop out of the bushes.
Huge camera.
Yeah.
Okay, so making sure that, yeah, as they build, I got you.
Field agent to base, I'm in position, over.
I did notice when I was looking at some of the audit numbers that the legal reserve was overdrawn by about $300. And that would have been from fiscal year 25. Are you comfortable with keeping
I am.
funding that with 10?
I think a lot of that had to do with
Okay.
The appeals that we had.
That's a phone call in the legal world.
So you think the 10,000 is a reasonable number to shoot for, and we just happen to have we went a little bit above that.
Yeah.
It would be nice if we could build that reserve back up, right?
Well, I mean, that's actually a line that I try to keep an eye on. I try not to utilize, Dave Rue if I have to, I will. But we try to do things in-house as best we can. When we're a little bit uncomfortable, that's when we'll reach out to them. And we do have carte blanche to do that. So, but we try to keep that at a minimum.
Sure.
That's something I've never.
What's our plan? If it seems like we could have a situation where if something serious came up with our reserve depleted and $10,000 in it, we could blow through that very quickly, right? What's our plan if that happens?
Unassigned funds?
Yeah. So I mean, ideally we put 10,000 in for a few years and we'd spend 5, spend 2, spend 8. We'd have 30 in there or whatever. And then we could drain it, we fill it, but we're at 0 now, basically. We're starting from nothing.
Well, there's still a $10,000 contribution for this year. It's not.
That's what the 10,000 is. So that line is to put $10,000 into the legal reserve.
Right, but, okay,
And then we use that reserve to pay for any legal
so
expense.
What if
that
that-
negative 300, that's.
That's what's in the reserve.
Year-end FY25.
Correct.
So there's
So not right now.
there's another $10,000 budget for
Okay.
this year that
So
will
we
go in. So we have
So
10,000.
FY26, we are at 10,000 minus whatever you've used.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha.
So right
We-
now,
This year with a few grand left or a bunch of money left, we're negative again. We don't
Yep.
know. We don't know yet.
and I've already moved it for fiscal year 26, so we're probably about $9,700.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Cool.
We get into a large legal battle over something like this, is there an insurance or anything that we should be doing to hedge our bets on that? I mean, we could blow through this and many, many times that very quickly. How does that work?
An excess legal liability policy.
Yeah.
I don't think we have one, but they sell them.
Is that something we want to pursue, or is that something that is that?
It would depend on the litigation.
Yeah.
If we're being sued, I think we're covered. If we're initiating, we're not.
There's a good chance that we would have to initiate a lot of these situations. We have
Like the Williamsville Road thing, which
We're not covered.
we were not covered.
I don't know if we were, but I don't think we were though.
Yeah.
That really wasn't planning and zoning.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would think Southview 3 acre would be close to planning and zoning,
What's
the
that?
Southview 3 acre, but
Maybe that,
Mm.
I'm sure is really planning and zoning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more like, most of these that I've seen is ones that are like other people taking people to court and then we're there to either provide testimony or monitor.
right,
Like, I mean, it's not like they're usually suing or they're appealing a DRB decision.
correct.
But that's usually then between
Yeah.
the developer and the person that's appealing it.
Typically it is. I think a lot of our drawdown on that line is from us actually reaching out to them.
Yeah.
You know,
Or we have
that's,
questions about like, how do we handle the situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of what, like, the other legal line is too for administration, it's like.
Right.
About how do we deal with the sign.
It's not one big thing. It's a ton of,
I think a lot of it is.
yeah,
a bunch of questions that add up to time on there.
they do. It is a nickel and dime type thing
And I
at
think
times.
there's some projects that, like, I mean, can think there's some projects that probably take more legal time than others.
Yeah, I mean, Hillview would be a prime example of that.
Philby's a good one,
Yeah.
Berry Drive, we've reached
Yeah.
out a few times, that we've had some questions along the way.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of that can be mitigated by good planning and good zoning administration, honestly. Really, it's because
Just spotting the
that's one thing that I
conflict.
try to instill is that, what you're doing is you're protecting the town's interests, but you also don't want to spend a ton of money. You want to make sure your determinations are sound.
Yeah, well, spending the money is part of the town's interest, right? So it's.
Yeah, exactly.
It's zoning, but also don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for us to spend money. I mean, it just is. And I just want to impart to, the one person that I oversee is that, we want to minimize the use of the attorney as best we can. And the way I feel that we do that is by having good rules. We follow the rules and that we're not going to be into any litigation, that we're going to
Well-
lose at least.
Well, Passive does sell that, and it may be that we just don't remember it, but we should check to see if we have it.
Okay.
But it is something that Passive offers standard,
What's it called?
passive excess legal liability.
Yeah, check, see.
And yeah, I'm looking at the 2022 property and casualty document. I'm not going to waste people's time talking about it right now, but yeah, we should follow up on that.
Great. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Keith? Do you have any questions for Keith? Comments, suggestions?
It's a pretty
Awesome. Yeah,
vanilla budget, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
But it went down, so that's awesome.
And when, yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
That's 2 in a row that have gone down. We can get 3.
I
We're not
don't,
gonna continue that trend.
I don't think so.
Yeah, next is police.
If Matt's ready for us, because
Right.
he's on the road.
He is on the road. I think he's calling in on his travels.
We can switch him if he's soon to be not off the road.
Matt, are you with us?
Yeah, he said he wouldn't respond if he was driving.
Okay.
Good man.
Let's
That could end
should we
badly.
skip to highway. Peter, you ready to go?
I am.
Always.
Let's go. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we can hear you great.
Perfect. Just want to make sure you can hear me.
You're not driving, are you, Pete?
I hope not. I'm sitting, this is a pretty big chair to drive out of right here, so.
Oh, the trucks cost so much now.
Yeah. No kidding. Jeez.
So let's see. We
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Oh,
it's
oh,
Matt.
Now we can.
All right.
Go back to highway.
Now a good time, Matt, or would you like to chat later? What works for you?
It is. I actually I'm at a gas station right now, so I'm not driving.
Okay.
Pete, do you mind if we bump you back to your
It's-
allotted?
I'm still sitting in my chair. It's all good with me, so.
Thank you.
All right, back to police.
All right, Matt, back to you.
So I'll give a quick overview, of just some changes that we did make here prior to the meeting. So the staff is estimated using 1 full-time police chief. This was at 50% last year due to splitting it with Heinsberg. We're looking at 1 sergeant, 1 corporal, and 2 officers to build the budget, and a 20-hour per week administrative assistant. We did increase the wages by 22%, assuming that we're going to try to increase the police grade wage to some extent to try to recruit and retain officers. So that's where you're seeing right up here is a pretty big jump, pretty big increase. That's mostly due to going from 50% to 100% on the chief and trying to make an effort to increase wages to retain officers. Couple other things we added down here, body cameras and tasers. It's time to basically kind of re-up those. So those are going to cost a little bit more money. So $7,500 for body cameras versus $4,000 last year, and $6,000 for tasers versus $5,000 last year. And then, as we've talked about, the capital reserves, we were at $135,000 this year. That's assuming purchasing a cruiser in 27 and putting half the cost of a cruiser aside for another, I think, 2 purchases in 28. So those are some of the highlights. Matt, did you have anything else that you wanted to highlight before we turn it over for questions?
I think one of the other changes, I think Connie and I went through and tried to split out a lot of the old budget things that were maybe ambiguous. So I think like uniforms and gear got split out to be more precise of what was being spent where. The other ones, I think I added a recruitment line for $1,000 for to help with recruitment. These are things that I was thinking, like going to a job fair, there's usually a fee associated with that, or advertising online. One of the feedbacks I've got from other agencies, they've actually had a lot of success with social media advertising to get recruits. So that might be a place if we're looking for recruiting is getting targeted ads right to people who are interested in policing or engaging in police videos through social media. And then The other one I think I adjusted was our training budget from year to year. That was reduced last year to 3,200. I think I put it back to 5,000. That basically gives $1,000 per officer if there's 5 officers there for annual training. And realistically, it's about $150 a day to train an officer to pay for the classes. And each officer is required 30 hours a year. We only get about 15 of those hours in-house, and they have to basically 2 days out of state, not out of state, so out of the department for training. So that would only give us about $1,000 an officer to make sure we have them appropriately trained.
So we should increase that.
I increased it to 5,000 from last year. It was previously budgeted at 5,000, and then last year it got reduced to 3,200 because we were short staffed.
But do you think 5,000 is really enough based on what you just said?
I think it would be enough for next year. I'm optimistic that we'll get more officers between now and next year, but I want to be realistic that we might not be fully staffed between now. Hopefully we will be, but just in the timeline, if we get lateral transfers, that's going to be great. But if we're not fully staffed for whatever reason, I don't want to over budget either.
Thanks.
Any other questions or things you want me to dive into? I know tasers and body cameras are coming due. I dug into some of those contracts as well.
We've got those here, and then we've got dash cams in the capital plan as well.
Right.
So the dash cams aren't reflected in the actual budget, but they are in the capital plan. I think, yeah, really the story here is the big drivers are contributions to reserve and wages. I think we probably agree we need those things, but that's why we're here to talk about it.
Well, the contribution to wages going up is absolutely essential if we want to have a chance of staffing our department.
And it's important to realize that, yes, the wage cost is more, but the quality of service product will cost less, because not having attractive wages to draw people in, bringing in new officers, paying to train them, we're not getting the service that we need. So, there's sticker shock there, but we're actually getting a better product at a cheaper cost.
Right.
Right. And ultimately even though it's higher wages, it's market rate wages, and those that we don't have to train ourselves actually saves us in costs with actually getting work out of individuals or employees faster. So, we hire a lateral transfer, we get them, it takes about a month to get them all situated before they're working on their own, in comparison to a new hire that we put through the academy, where it's somewhere between 6 and 9 months, if not longer, that we're paying their wages, but they're still in the training phase and they haven't actually made it into a productive employee, I would say. Not saying that they're not productive being training, but that they're taking workload away from other people.
They're not on the job.
In essence.
They're working, but they're not producing.
Correct. We're training for that. That way they will produce in the future.
Right. So the actual cost per deliverable hour is much higher with the training model than it is with this model.
Correct.
And also, although the salaries are going up considerably, we're eliminating the $78,000 for the contracted service, which is in a category below, so you don't immediately notice it in the payroll numbers.
Right, so that is the contracted service for chief of police. So that goes away, but we're essentially doubling it up top for a full chief.
I mean, most of the other lines, with the exception of the reserve, are pretty close to what they were last year.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the two big drivers are really wages and associated benefits and the reserve.
I don't know if good is the word I'd use, but yeah.
Satisfied with the conversation
Yeah,
for this
good
evening.
conversation. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, now to Pete in the big chair.
Are we budgeting for an even bigger chair?
That's a
No,
personal
we'll
chair.
see. We will see.
You want to start with highway? We usually talk about rec and trails too here, but let's start with highway since it's bailiwick for sure. Cover some big takeaways here.
Would you like me to run through some of the changes, Josh? Would that be?
Yeah, I thought, wait a minute, where was the training? I thought we had,
Training was mostly free, he said.
no, but there was a CDL. Oh, dues and certification.
It's certification and licenses. That's where I was
Yeah.
gonna start, so.
Okay, yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so certifications and licenses, it's up to $5,000. That's a $4,800 increase. That is due to new federal carrier motor law change that we can no longer obtain a CDL from in-house from your current employer. You have to actually physically go to a CDL school, and I think it's 80 hours of training and then driving tests and the whole deal. But the cost for a CDL-B is $4,800 and change. Last year we sent an employee in and he got his CDL. We now have a new employee that needs to go in this spring for a CDL. It'll either be spring or fall, but so we're putting that number in for to get a guy, have one person go get a CDL. So that's a new ad. I don't know if you want to scroll down. You want to go down in the order here, best we can? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so the next one's probably chloride, right? I'm gonna hit on things that are like $1,000 or more. Most of the items that are $200 to $500 is really increase in cost and more based on actuals. But we can slice and dice at a later meeting, I guess, if you really want to get into it. But chloride. So we run a calcium chloride now. We run them in the winter and in the summer. We run a winter blend. We mix with our salt. It's a pre-wet system. We have 2 trucks that are equipped for this. What this does is it makes our salt work at a lower temperature. It makes it work much quicker, and it keeps more of it on the road. In addition to that, we actually reduce the amount of rock salt we have to put out because it doesn't bounce off the road as much. So we're using more and more of that material. Plus, this past summer, we had 2.5 months of pure powder conditions. So every time we touched a dirt road, we had to do like an extra application of chloride. So I increased that up, and it's gone up like 3% in cost too. So I added $5,000 to chloride. The next item is road salt. We had a 10% increase with no notice. It went up $10 a ton. We just got the letter a month ago. So that's an automatic, we're already $10,000 under, the current budget we're in. We're going to be spending $10,000 less this year we're going to get less salt. So to get back up to 1,100 tons, we got it back up to 115. So I added $5,000 to that, or $15,000 to that, excuse me. Yeah.
Remind me, we used to have the choice of 2 different vendors, but now we're down to just one.
I was getting there. So, yes, used to have American Rock was a local vendor that would service District 5 and Cargill Rock Salt. Cargill bought out American Rock, and we now only have one vendor that services District 5, which is this area, and that's Cargill. And the set price is at $99.50 per ton. There's a vendor out of Canada, a very limited amount of salt you could get from them. Only a couple towns, like the northern lying towns, were able to get small amounts of salt. The other closest vendor is in New Hampshire, and there's one that comes out of Albany, New York, which is a special salt from overseas, which I don't even think we can get that anymore. A few years back, we were able to get some of that stuff. So we're really limited. We're kind of over a barrel, basically.
Right.
So yeah, we're forced into this increase. All the towns around us are paying this $99.50. Contractors are paying over, they're paying well over $100 per ton because they got a markup on them. So that's just, the cost. It's gone up. We can't do anything about it. The next item is sand. Cost of sand's gone up almost 5% in the last 2 years. Last year, I was asked to save $10,000 out of that sand budget to try to offset some of the flooding costs. In doing that, we depleted our sand pile, and so I had to put it all back, not realizing I actually slightly overspent this year to put the pile back. But in doing that, I found that we need an extra $10,000 to keep that 4,500 to 5,000 cubic yard sand pile available for every season. So that's where that increase comes from. Let's see what we got here after sand. Equipment rental. We find that one. Go down a little bit. Increase that $2,000. So in our gravel road plan, the next road coming up is Stage Road, which is the furthest distance from the gravel source out of Heinsberg. And we always hire trucks to help us do this work. So that typically goes towards trucking. And we had this discussion a while back because we talked about renting a roadside mower, and I brought this whole thing up. So anyways, that being that much further out and the cost of trucking has gone up also, that's where that $2,000 increase comes from. And the road after that, I believe, is Snipe Island Road, which is another furthest distance road. So we need that additional trucking so we don't spend a month and a half out there graveling roads where we can do it in 3 weeks. So it makes a big difference to have that available. Okay. And the next item would be small equipment purchase. Is that right? Yeah, up $2,000. So our hand tools are in horrible shape. And Kyle's actually on. This is, I think, his first budget meeting. He can attest to this. Basically, all our hand tools, sockets, wrenches, screwdrivers, this stuff is in horrible shape. We need to replace all our tools. We've been slowly buying power tools, but we got another chainsaw or two we need to buy. There's just a lot of tools that we need to get our toolbox up to par. We have a certified mechanic now that he's bringing his own tools in, which that's great. He wants to do that, but he's got a big investment in that. And I'd like the town to be able to provide the proper tools for him to do the work. We are doing the maintenance on all the fire trucks, all the police cruisers, all the highway department vehicles. And I think we're even starting to take on some of the water and sewer stuff, at least the inspections. So, we need the tools. So that's really where a lot of that increase came from. All right. What's the next one? Tires?
Another train?
That's weird.
Tires up $1,000.
We need to take a train retest.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't hear it over here.
It's coming your way.
Well,
Maybe it's not. I'm not sure if it's past your house yet or not.
has to be coming from Essex. I didn't hear it go by here.
Well, you'll hear it in a minute then. So you wanted to go to tires next?
Yeah, increase that by 1,000. So what that is we carry 2 full sets of tires for all our trucks because the tire size hasn't changed. So we carry a summer set of tires on rims and a winter set on rims, which saves us a lot of money because we get the full life out of those tires instead of throwing them away when they're like 30% valuable for the summer. But in part of this, the big equipment, the loader, the excavator, and roadside mower, all the bigger stuff, the tires for those, the grader especially, they're like $1,100 a piece. So what we typically do is, like with the grader, is 6 tires on that. We'll buy a tire every year. Then when we get a set of 4, we'll change all the drive tires on it. So it takes like 4 years to replace those. Instead of having a $5,000 bill all at once, it wipes out our whole tire budget. Every year we'll buy a tire. So that's kind of where that extra $1,000 came from. And that's also reflects the increase in the cost of tires too. Let's see. Those were all the big items that were $1,000 or more. There's some $200 things. There's some small decreases. But that's kind of it in an average across the budget. Unless I missed something, but the traffic calming measures, we left that alone at $10,000. We spent some of that this year, but not that much. We put in some blinking lights, some extra signs. I think we got some ideas for that, but that's up to you guys. That could be reduced if you'd like. We can talk about that at a later time, I guess. One thing that was removed and gone to zero, actually started last year, was the illuminated pedestrian crossings. And I don't know if you want to think about one a year, basically doing all our pedestrian crossings to illuminated or not. Another thing for a discussion. They're very expensive. They're over $9,000. We didn't put anything in the budget. I wasn't asking for anything. We just installed the one at the Railroad Street, Juliana Court intersection. As far as I know, it seems to be working well. Not heard any feedback that there's a problem there. So I think, the crossing's working good.
Pete, I have a question.
Yes.
Are we talking replacing the ones we've got? Or are we talking about doing net news?
Adding news.
Okay, for years we've said you overdo those, they tend to have less of an impact. So do we want more?
Well, I thought we were gonna go down Bridge Street,
Put a,
like around church.
okay, down that part.
Yeah, the other side of the bridge, or basically from the town center to Fire Road, there's nothing. So,
Okay.
You've got 3 crosswalks on the other side of that bridge. So it's another discussion. Just something to think about. I know that's kind of more of a wish list thing, but that kind of ties into that intersection problem with Thompson Road, Cochrane Road, Huntington Road, Bridge Street, that I did that speed hump proposal, but that would kind of tie into that, but just something to throw out there, because that is a pretty sizable number. So,
Okay.
and I just have one thing I wanted to ask, and this is probably a Josh question. Under administration, you have a line item for performance incentives. Is that just for administrative staff, or is that for all town employees?
What line is it?
Performance incentives?
It's under administration.
Under,
It's called recognition/awards.
Oh, it's the very last line up there. Yeah,
yeah, so that's, recognition awards, where's that?
it's the very last
An
line.
ad.
That's staff related right there. So
Yeah, so that's, usually for the holiday party, when we give gift cards or put money towards that, or when we had retirement parties. So that's for any staff member, basically, if we're doing something for the annual holiday party, retirement parties, things like that, we have that money for that. So yeah, if there's somebody in highway that we need to recognize, we could do that as well, without that money, that's fine.
I think we did the thank you for the extra work on when we had the flood.
Yeah, but we had some rewards. for that.
right.
Yeah, so that one, I mean, it used to just be the gift cards, but we've done a little bit more over the years, we've increased that a bit.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was, department specific or not. So many years ago, way before all of you people, we used to have a performance incentive line in every department. And if you had an employee that did an outstanding job or saved the town a bunch of money, you could make a recommendation to the board to give them something. It could be $200, it could be a gift card, but and that kind of got removed from the budgets. But that's why I was kind of wondering if that was kind of that. But
Yeah, no, it's not like a cash bonus, it's more like parties, gift cards, that type of stuff.
Do we want
We
to?
could consider adding that, I mean.
We've done it with at least one employee this year, and you.
Consider adding that as a line if we wanted to do that.
The only problem that I think we've discussed regarding that in the past is not everybody is in a position.
To
They
do
would
something
be-
amazing.
Their job they wouldn't be in a position to be recognized. On the illuminated pedestrian crossings, Jay, you asked the question, we have 3 of them. And we do have them on scheduled replacement, so they are
Okay.
part of the capital plan.
Okay, good.
We now have 4. We just installed the 4th one.
Jelena Court one, right? But I know that from time to time, they do cranky things.
No, you're right. It's 3.
I think it's 3, the library, Julian Court. And
Yep.
Richmond,
And
right?
up the Sweet Simone's.
First one.
So I'll have to add that to the capital plan then. And I believe we put them on a 15-year cycle.
Yeah, we kind of guessed at it. We really don't know the life expect. I mean, I guess if they work, don't take them out. You know what I mean? But 15 years, who knows? That's a pretty good amount of time to guesstimate for. So, and that one that's at Sweet Simone's is, I'm going to guess that one's pushing 10 years.
And it's probably your best functioning one, isn't it?
That was, well, the one we just put in was the same brand. That's why it's over $9,000. When I called that company, he goes, "Oh, you want to buy one of those set it and forget it lights, huh?" That's exactly what he calls it. Because so many cities and towns just stopped with all the cheaper ones and just went to that because the problems they have, the lights don't shut off, they don't work, one side works. It's a constant nightmare. I can't imagine having 50 of these things in a city, the cheap ones, and having them all go haywire. You know, that's be a nightmare. So.
Yeah, because I feel like every 3 months we're adjusting or you're adjusting something by the library.
Yeah, seems like it.
Seems to have some sort of issue every couple months. So we were down. Let's see. We're gonna talk dirt roads, paved roads, or are we gonna?
Those are all in the capital plan. Those are still right on track with what the capital plan is spelled out. So there's really no changes there. And I do want to update the select board. I don't know if anybody's aware because I really haven't heard a lot, but we did complete the East Main Street sidewalk project, 2,000 feet of sidewalk and granite curb in Greenbelt. It was a big project for the town for the highway. We spent a month last year putting granite curbing in. Actually, Kyle and the crew did. I couldn't do it. I was laid up with a shoulder problem. And then we spent 2.5 months this summer with SD Ireland installing all the new concrete sidewalks, Greenbelt, and working through everybody's driveway and property, and then blending all the properties back to the sidewalk. So it was a pretty involved job, and people are pretty happy. I mean, I think everybody's very happy with what we did. So, and
It looks really good, Pete. It's been an eyesore for years and it looks so much better now.
Here's the big thing. We saved over $200,000 from the original estimate that Ravi gave the town. So I got to get that out there because that was a whole part of this whole village, upgrade plan that was to go for these big savings by having highway do some of these projects. So, that's to be noted. I mean, I'm proud of it, and I know the guys did a great job and they're proud of it. So just, tooting our own horn, I guess.
Well, no, you guys did good work.
Well, I think that was all went back to when we got rid of the per diem and the part-time and went with an extra full-time person.
I moved maintenance, grounds maintenance and recreation stuff off of the highway plate so that you could focus full-time on the roads over the summer. So,
Yeah, that was the trade-off. So
no, and it's been well received for sure.
When we worked on the capital plan, we looked at a 5% increase each year for the cost of equipment, and it was pretty interesting as you navigated out the whole 15 years that I have on here. 15 years from now, a $310,000 truck is going to be over 600,000.
Yeah.
I won't be around to see that. But
So maybe we should look at contribution to capital reserve. That's our, I think what debt's about the same, but then we get to the capital reserve payments, and that's where we're seeing some bigger increases. But again, same story. We went thin last year, and this all dovetails right back into the capital reserve capital plan. And as Connie just said, the equipment continues to get expensive, just like the fire equipment. So that's one of the bigger increases for sure, but absolutely necessary.
And as we look at the numbers, there's a definite, he has the trucks on a really good replacement schedule. And the minute when that gets messed up due to the manufacturer, we definitely see an increase in repair costs just by adding one more year to a truck.
That was one item I missed. I increased the fleet maintenance $2,000 this year because we have a truck that is now in year number 8 and it got pushed out due to the body manufacturers 2 years out. Then we're going to have a second truck that's going to go into year number 8. They only have a 7-year warranty bumper to bumper from the manufacturer. So, you know, it could easily have a $5,000 repair, you know, unforeseen. So hoping not, but that's just try to build in an extra number for that. So.
Anything else for Pete?
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Why did we have to rip them out?
To put the new,
Water main
yeah, plus the state said we had to get all of that done before.
before the Route 2 repay. Okay, now it comes
No,
back
the
to the
Route 2 rebuilding project.
Route 2 rebuilding project.
Pave it.
Change your opinion project. So next up is rec and trails. So I guess there's not a lot of changes here except for one that we'll talk about here. Just a reminder, in here we also have
We had to replace all the subterranean storm drains too.
And we found a couple of drains that we didn't even know were there, right?
Yeah, sorry. So the Conservation Reserve Fund is in recreation and trails. That was $80,000 last year, and that's always voted on separately. So we do not include that in the budget projections. One request that came in, and our tree warden, Caitlin Littlefield, reminded me that she wanted to have a line item in the budget for about $25,000 for tree maintenance. This goes back to some work that she's done over the past number of years with emerald ash borer maintenance. There's some treatment to some specific trees that we do. There's also removal of trees, and I think it was on Cochrane Road, removed a number of trees within the right of way. There were ash trees 2 or 3 years ago, and we really should get on a good routine of eliminating a few trees every year.
Now we also had to take down a tree at the round church, right?
Yeah, I think we took down a couple and replanted some trees to the round church. So there's also some things like that in her plan, which I've included in the packet, for some of the trees in the different parks as well. So wanted to add that in here. One thing we finally were talking about is maybe it could come out of Conservation Reserve Fund. I think when we did the recent treatment for EAV, that was for the Conservation Reserve Fund expense. So just some things to think about as we get further into the budget process.
Well, all the new trees up at Rounds Court, those have to be maintained too.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we should consider that too. I think.
That's a sizable increase, the number of trees.
Yeah, and I think right now she was thinking mostly like the emerald ash borer, as well as like what larger trees need to be cut back and trimmed so they're not gonna fall. But yeah, there's gonna be, I'm sure, as those trees get bigger, there's gonna be some sort of trimming that needs to happen as well, for sure. So
Didn't we get a grant for that before?
yeah, so for emerald ash borer, yeah, when it first was discovered in Vermont, which is I think 3 years ago, there was a grant for I think treatment and removal. And that grant was sort of a one-time thing that happened. And then when we did the treatment, you have to treat the trees every 2 years that you're going to be treating. So we had another treatment this past spring, and there was a conservation fund request for that. Also in rec and trails, we wanted to consider maybe moving ground maintenance down to this section of the budget. It's lived up in the admin section for a while, but as you think about, they're mostly cutting, they're doing the town center, but Brown Church Green, Browns Court, Volunteers Green, it might make sense to put that down here. We were going to consider changing this from what do we have an idea to change it from rec and trails to?
Oh, we thought we might rename the whole category.
Yeah, but I forget we had an idea, but I forget what I said, and write it down.
Well, I was wondering if we change the name, we could also put the street lights there and get them out of highway.
Oh, okay, I didn't think about streetlights, but maybe we could.
Because it's really not a highway thing.
Oh.
But I don't know what we would call it. Recreation and common ground? And utilities?
Improvements? I don't know.
Recreation, trails, utilities, common utilities.
Illumination.
Common illumination.
Recreation trails and public spaces.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
right, every now and again.
It has that je ne sais quoi.
And public spaces. And should we move the streetlights to there? Under utilities?
Say since they cross the road and Pete's got to deal with them, we just leave it on the highway. That'd be my hunch, but
Do we want to move grounds maintenance down to this line? We'll keep it in admin.
It does,
mean,
it just doesn't make sense to have it in admin.
It touches a few different departments. It probably touches.
I'm completely agnostic about this. You guys do whatever.
Not at all.
then I have no preference.
Yeah, so maybe we'll move it just to move it.
I'd like to move it.
I think it might make more sense, so.
All right, let me
All
get
right.
up there and grab
Other
it.
than that, there's really not much money to talk about in rec and trails. Other than the big
Well,
request for increase to the trees.
I have a really stupid comment. I specialize in those. Now that we actually have pickleball courts, do we want to consider just closing out the tennis fund and applying that money to Browns court expenses? There's like $300 in the tennis fund.
We would have to research as to how it came, when it came about, how it came about, and it would have to go to public vote.
So I think
It would
we-
have to go on the ballot, which I'm totally in support of because
Who
it's,
created it? The select board created it. Do we have to vote to get rid of it?
Well,
I think
it
we
was-
looked into this and we figured we couldn't do it, but I can't remember why.
right.
I think because it wasn't, I don't think it was tax money. I think it was people making specific.
Well, I made a couple donations just to be an idiot, but
Bids, donations, but I think before that.
Now they're
there was-
stuck there.
There was a couple people that were, that had given a couple $100.
yeah, I just wanted to see what Connie would do. It's like, here's this check for the tennis fund.
Like, what? I've been here 10 years. I have not seen that.
I've had unclaimed property with the state for like 15 years now, and I refuse to claim it because it's still less than $1. Unclaimed.
My hunch would be, and this is tough, but we're gonna spend way more than $300 in man hours to try to get $300 out. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
It's,
So we'll just let Jay keep contributing.
It's just an it's just an OCD thing.
Until the dollars that Jay has put in outweigh the man hours to get it out, and then we'll do
Just
it.
gotta send it.
Pete, go ahead.
There we go. Pickleball court. Probably, I've just got to ask this question. With everything you build comes maintenance. Maybe not today, but it will require maintenance, net replacements, resurfacing, relining. Do you have a full maintenance plan put together for that? Is it budgeted? Who's in charge of it? I mean, a lot of questions here, but recreation and maintenance of recreation has always landed in my lap. I've taken care of the Volunteers Green now for over 10 years and done multiple upgrades down there. And we installed the water line system up there. I dug for all those cedar trees. I just, I'm hoping we've thought more than just, let's just install it and worry about it later. So we're at budget time. I don't know if there's somebody's put.
The Browns Court, or rather the Three Parks Committee, has a plan which largely
Okay.
consists of volunteer taking shifts, but that's not going to cover replacement and resurfacing as that comes up. That's gonna take care of the ordinary day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking, more long range. So, whether whether it's $1,000 a year and then year 5, you need $5,000 worth of stuff. I don't really know, but somebody needed to do or needs to do that research to find out what kind of maintenance will that pickleball court need in, say 3 years. Do the nets have to be taken down next week, for the winter? I mean, there's stuff. I mean, I'm asking these questions because I always
They're
know.
good questions, Pete.
Well, hey, we're going to put water up at Brown's Court. Okay. Hey, Pete, can you dig it? Like, well, all right. We're going to put benches in where, it's just these things come up because a lot of people don't think about everything that goes with something that you own like that, something new. So I'm just throwing it out there. This would be the time to get those questions asked and maybe answered. That would be great.
Well, the
You
budget,
left the hose on the ground hydrant and it froze. Can you fix that?
oh, please don't even. That's gonna happen if we don't.
It's gonna happen. It happens at my house and it's.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, what do we need to do to turn that water off?
Just-
Just turn the water off. Is
Steve said he would turn it off at the street, the curb stop.
We're getting
There's a
close.
curb stop right out at Brown's Court Street. There's a shut off right there. It'll kill the whole system.
Should be fine theoretically if no one turns it on, but it's not.
Kids do dumb things. People do dumb things.
But
Well,
I
that's
do dumb things.
if there's water in the spigot tube, right?
They drain.
no, it's called a dry hydrant. So what it is,
Oh,
it's
it is.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
the valves like down
it
the
does
bottom.
already
it's
drain
drain
it off.
8 feet tall and there's almost 5 feet buried in the ground at the very bottom of it. When you shut the hydrant lever off,
Oh, okay.
it self drains into a stone pit, which we put in there. So
Gotcha.
all the water is
Hose
4
off.
feet below grade, but you want to shut the water to the system
Okay.
off when you're not using it.
Every time you shut the nozzle off, it drains, it self-drains.
It self drains back into it down
Don't
into the
shut the
stone
main
pit.
valve off before it gets too cold, okay?
Before someone messes with it.
Right.
Yeah,
Just
then-
like Steve does this at the concession stand, which we're gonna do after Halloween. We're gonna winterize that too. So he shuts it
Right.
off at the street and you shut the water right off to the whole building. So
It looks like we're not getting below freezing until after Halloween.
yeah, usually have events down there during Halloween. So
They're not doing Halloween on the green this year, though.
they're not.
It's gotta be like frost.
No, the organizers are taking this year off.
We're talking like January, February.
Yeah, actually,
much-
Pete, that's a good point. We might be able to do it because baseball's over. I think soccer's over.
I was wondering because I thought I saw him playing soccer the other day, but maybe it was something else.
Let me check on soccer. I know baseball's over. Soccer might have
ended Sunday.
the soccer and stuff, and we might be able to shut that place down anytime now because with no Halloween event, I mean,
Okay.
people will still park there for Halloween. But
Do we need water? I
know
don't
how
see it.
often they use the bathroom when they're parking there, walking their kids.
You got the portalet now up at the parking lot, so
There is a
Yeah.
portal too, so
Yeah.
we might be
Back
able
to
to
budget
winterize
stuff,
this.
guys.
Yeah, we should go back to
Well,
the budget.
yeah, just
So-
let me know because that's something that's on our list of things to do for the fall. So
No, definitely. I put a note for pickleball reserve or line, because you're right, Pete. We're not really good at long-term planning for.
I
we've
would
got a
hate to-
small-
I would-
We've got a small amount of money for like playground maintenance and things like that.
No,
but
you're right. If
Pickleball courts, we don't have anything really planned out.
there
long
will be a
enough
day
for.
we have to resurface that or replace things, and having some capital plan money set aside makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
So this is what we just went through with guardrails. 6 years ago, I had $3,000 a year, which was not even enough to have them come in and do anything. So I never spent it. And then finally I said, let's do a reserve and we'll plan a project. And we did Southfield and we did, boom. Now we got a reserve going in small increments, but it's kind of the same thing here. I don't think you're going to have anything for the next 2 to 3 years, but maybe year 5, you might have to do whatever, I'm sure it'll need something. So
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So, all right.
a lot easier to put
Glad I
small.
made the flippant remark about the tennis fund then.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to add that. So thanks.
Oh, thank you. So that might be enough for recreation trails and public spaces.
I think we got it.
Okay.
Time per dollar, that was the highest for any of them.
All right. Now we'll move on to town administration and assessors. How are we already? God, we did spend 20 minutes on that? Yes, we did. Okay,
Well, pickleball is the nation's fastest growing sport.
well, it sure is. All right, so. Town administration, we did put in this draft of the budget an increase in hours for the assistant town clerk to increase from 12 to 25 hours per week to help with increasing workload for there's been a lot more recordings coming in. And also to train as a backup on payroll and AP. Connie's planning on retiring at some point next spring. We could use some extra help to kind of in that transition, and we've never really had a fully trained backup on payroll since Martha's left. So that request is to increase that a few hours. The audit costs increased for a need for a second audit, probably for another single audit next year. And other than that, those are sort of the bigger changes in that. I don't think there's too much else. It's huge in administration. Any questions about admin before we move on to assessors?
I don't have any.
Okay. Assessors, I think stayed pretty. We just flatlined the contractual services. Tax act maintenance actually went down a little bit, I think, because we don't have a reappraisal. Reappraisal reserve will contribute half of the Act 60 grant that we get. We get about 15,000 every year. We usually put 7,500 to offset tax rate and $7,500 towards the reserve. Okay, maybe that might be our quickest one of the evening. Okay.
Yes, so.
So that's our first pass at that, and then we'll move on to charitable appropriations. So I want to flip over to another page real quick for this one to start. Let me So the easiest way to look at appropriations is to look at this sheet, which breaks them down all on one sheet. They're sort of scattered throughout the budget in a few different areas. These are the requests that we've got this year. So everything that's in green came in on time. Everything that's in yellow, which there are 2 of them in yellow, these came in a little late. And then Vermont Adult Learning, actually, this isn't updated. This came in like yesterday. So we do have a number for that. I think it's $500. I just didn't update the tracking sheet yet. So we do have a policy that states that they're supposed to be in by the Monday immediately prior to the second. No, the Wednesday immediately prior to the second Monday in October. The goal behind that is to get them in time for the first budget meeting. So there are 3 that were late. We can still include them if we want, but I just want to note that they were a little bit late. Noted next to these are they on the ballot or not? 2 years ago, we started to move items to the ballot. So things like Age Well, COTS, HopeWorks, those are voted on separately on the ballot. But then we also looked at things that were sort of a direct benefit to the town that could fit into a department. So Campbell's Hump Little League was in recreation. Cousy Special Investment and Special Unit for Special Investigators is really used by the police. So we put that into the budget. Farmers Market, we viewed as a town benefits. We put that into the budget. We would need to make some determinations in some of these new ones. We have a Howard Center request. This is not community outreach. This is just an additional request from Howard Center for general funding. So we need to determine, does that go on the ballot or not? And same thing with the Vermont Adult Learning. I look like Bart has his hand up, so I'll stop right here and hear what Bart has to say.
Go ahead, Bird.
So it strikes me, yeah, that this is twofold. Do they fit our criteria? Do the applications fit the criteria? And then the other is, did they meet our deadline? Do we have the actual language? Because I thought the deadline was a hard and fast deadline.
I do have the language. Give me 1 second.
which would suggest if it missed the deadline, it missed the deadline, and agnostic about the value of them.
There we go.
So it's at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Must submit a request, blah, 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 application by the Wednesday immediately prior to the second Monday in October. So on the face of it, language that says must submit by that date means you must, not like if it's a week late, it's okay.
Should we change it to shall? So it's,
Well, or the question is, do we want to be strict? I mean, by not being strict, we're encouraging people to just keep on shoveling them in till Christmas.
Well, I'm
I'm
not
actually at this point inclined to be strict.
I'm not like whether it's strict or not. I'm just going, what did we say in the policy? And the policy says must submit. And I construe must to be comparable to shall, like there's a deadline.
I agree. I'm glad we're having this conversation because I don't remember who the people were that were late, so we can have it agnostic to, I can. Everyone that has, everyone here that's younger than me that has a better memory probably can. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. This is a pretty.
I think we
clear-
should begin being strict.
It's a clear policy. We adopted them. I agree with
We
that.
give people plenty of notice.
Yeah.
I think it's clear you have to do it by that deadline. And if I were a voter, I'd say I would assume that the select board managed these applications according to its own policy. So
And
A,
moreover, Mary yells at us every year about it.
A,
And she's correct.
did they arrive on time? And B, are they the organizations eligible? And the first
policy
one is
is-
easy, it's
is
just
the
a date.
enforcement in this
Right?
place.
Yeah, so going by that, then anything here, the two in yellow and the one in red, those three were all late. So we'll just take those right off. Then the only, I guess, you still have to make a decision of, are the ones that were on the ballot last year gonna be put back on the ballot? But then we would have.
The Howard Center one wasn't late. It's just TBD if it's going to be on the ballot.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Make
what I
sure
wanted
that's
to have a
clear.
conversation on. I think it probably fits to go on the ballot, because the other ones are more of like a direct, like kind of benefit. Like, so for instance,
Makes sense.
farmer's market is direct, it happens here in town. Whereas Hope Works serves a broader community, and some of that is here in town.
Now, the Howard Center line is distinct from the community outreach lines.
Yeah, this is their first year requesting something additional to the community outreach.
This is just this would be a contribution to their general, their equivalent of a general fund, the money they can spend on whatever.
That's my understanding. I haven't really scrutinized their application, but I think that's basically what it is. It's not
So
very specific.
They do where they work, but that is tough to meet the criteria of a direct benefit to Richmond.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
For my-
I mean, you work for their peer.
Well, I think we'd want to look at the actual application, right? To see how they describe it, because I construe it, it's probably situated similarly to COTS. So COTS is not based in Richmond, but serves people in Richmond. The Howard Center is the designated agency for Chittenden County. So similar to COTS, it's inclusive of, but not limited to Richmond. And hopefully in their application, they said how many people from Richmond are served.
You want me to pull the application up so we can take a look?
If that's the only one, like maybe we just
Oh.
resolve it now, yeah.
You have
Well-
that one, and actually Vermont Adult Learning is moot because they were late, so that is the only one, assuming we want to keep everything else status quo. So let's pull up the.
That's what I look
Howard
for.
Center.
We care more than health services.
While we're at this, if I recall correctly, last year, the Turning Point Center got the lowest percentage of yes votes, but still passed. They're asking for $5,000. And to the best of my knowledge, they don't do a lot outside Burlington. I mean, their physical brick and mortar location is in Burlington. And if we have statistics on how many people here in Richmond they serve, I'd like to see that. But
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the, which one was that?
Turning Point Center.
Turning Point? Hold that one up too.
I mean, addiction recovery is certainly a laudable goal. I just don't know how much benefit Richmond is getting out of it.
Okay, so we'll pull up both of those and take a look. So this is the Howard Center.
They're asking, we would be contributing a minuscule percentage of their budget, line 6.
But what are we getting? What's the
Right.
What's the ask?
Well, so this, ironically, David, it strikes me, this is like if Washington County Mental Health went to Worcester and asked what the town of Worcester to fund something and put it on the ballot. They say how many people from Richmond are served. So item 4 is clearly from their medical record system. Then they calculate a percent. And you're right, it's a minuscule amount. It's 2,000. Their budget is significant. It's 142 million.
Yeah.
And they're, as you know, like any designated agency, they have a combination of reimbursed and non-reimbursed services, crisis services that tend not to be reimbursed. So, my sense is it probably fits similarly to COTS or a home health agency, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, do the voters want to give them $2,000 or not?
Yeah.
So my take is if they, and I'm really agnostic about whether an individual should vote for them or not. It arrived on time.
Should it go on the ballot or not?
Yeah, and it seems like it fits the criteria to go on the ballot.
I agree.
Okay. Let's see if that goes on the ballot. And then
Which one is that?
there's Howard Center. I'm making some notes too.
We pull it off the budget and put
I
it,
don't think we even put it on the budget yet.
oh, okay.
I think I kept that one off, knowing that we would probably have this discussion.
Yeah, didn't we have that in 2 different sections as well?
No, I think we were confusing Kuzi and community outreach. I think we're fine.
Okay.
I remember what we thought we had in places we really didn't. Okay, so this is Turning Point Center
Number of people, 4.
for residents of Richmond, yeah.
I think I would turn this down just a priority, but that's just me. I'm one person. I just don't see that we're getting a lot of benefit. That's $1,250 per person served.
Yeah.
I mean, it is unfortunate that we can't dive in and know like outcome information and all that, because if they have successfully helped 4 people.
I just think as we've got this goal to, I'm sorry, I should have talked to her.
No, it's fine. I mean, if it's 4 people, yeah. Realistic, but
When we've got a goal to, we want to keep the tax burden down. We want to try to keep the tax increase below 3.7%. We don't necessarily need to be funding every community organization from Burlington who says, hey, why not?
Yeah.
And that's kind of
But here's the counterpoint to that for what it's worth, Jay, I think is it goes on a ballot item. It's not part of our 3.7%. And if the voters want to give them $5,000 to serve 4 people, then it would be a majority, right?
But you say it doesn't go against the 3.7, it comes out of taxes, doesn't it?
But it's not part of our budget. It's part of a separate ballot item that the voters could choose to add on or not add on.
similar to the Conservation Reserve Fund. And
Right.
We're going to the voters.
I
with
agree
our
with
municipal
Bart on
budget.
this. I don't think it
Right.
meets the criteria of being funded out of our budget, but I do think it meets the criteria, independent of whether I would vote for it or not, or anyone should, of being on the ballot and giving everyone a chance to vote for it.
That's kind of my take, and I think we could quickly fall into, is 4 people worth $5,000, and we could make our own judgments about that. But I think the intent here is to put it to the voters and let the voters, a majority of the voters, decide it is or is not worth.
I think, okay, and I agree with you when you put it that way, Bard. I think we might want to do a better job, though, informing people of the bang for buck before.
Yeah, I mean, we do publish on the website all the requests for all the items that are on the ballot. So people do have the ability
They
to
could
do
look,
their
but-
research.
But I think a summary sheet might be I think I'd like to see that because not everybody has the time to go digging into the town website.
There was some of the key stats of number of residents served, percent of town residents served by other.
I would like to see that, but
some of those-
if it sounds like I'm
numbers.
just like really harping on this, it's 9:30 and I realize we have other meetings where we can discuss this.
Yeah, we could. I mean, but I think we could do, I mean, if we looked at like, we put number 3, 4, and 5 and 6 maybe into, and maybe, yeah, if we put that into a spreadsheet to have available for the voters to quickly do a quick review on the numbers, I think that's
Okay.
an easy thing to do and would be informative for the voters for sure.
Could we pull that together for the meeting that we do in January? So have the budget without conservation and the voted donations, and then one next to it.
Yeah.
And then give the people the total. I know Josh does it very well in his presentation, but a lot can get lost in the presentation because there's so many numbers.
Mhm.
I know where Jay was going, and my feeling is the same. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, it's not part of the budget, but it is going to be part of the tax rate.
People are gonna vote on it too. They should be able to do it from a place of being easily informed about all the info.
Right, if you vote for all of these, it's gonna go from this
Yeah.
percentage to this percentage,
Which we, again, we do.
which you do.
And we put that out for like a month prior to the.
And I agree.
Too, so people do have a chance to hear, but maybe there's a better way we can get it out and better way we can communicate it. If we can do it earlier, then great. So we'll see what we can do. I think that takes care of.
All that, right?
Takes care of that's Howard Center.
On to money coming
Have a
in.
look at revenue, yeah. So it's. There we go. Mhm. All right. So I think the biggest thing here is we don't have anything for unassigned or general funds. We'll be taking a look at that probably in the next meeting. We did increase the contribution from water and sewer for administrative reimbursement. Connie and I went through, we have a sheet that takes a look at about how many hours Connie spends and I spend and other staff spend, total compensation so that water and wastewater pays back for the admin time.
And I did send that to both
I saw that. Yeah.
Suzanne and Steve today, so they could weigh in.
And we also looked at interest, which was net interest earned on general checking account. For a while, we've been budgeting up around $100,000. We had a lot of extra cash on hand. Interest rates were high. We came down a little bit, knowing interest rates were going down, and we had less cash on hand last year with the floods. This year, we increased it up to $75,000, knowing that we're going to get some more money back. So we can probably put some more money into certificates of deposit, which will help us increase that amount of interest. I think those are sort of the big things in revenue. Everything else kind of stayed roughly the same, I think. So then that gets us to our tax rate right now, which is at 18.31% increase, which is nowhere near where we want to be.
Well, yeah, that's kind of, I'm starting to try to be a little more skeptical about things. Because we're never gonna get the 3.7% if we just say, yeah, looks good.
Right, and again, a big driver on that is contributions to reserve funds and increases in police wages. I did do a quick exercise. It's not quite ready to fully share, but I can give you some big round numbers. So random exercise where we kept the assistant clerk at 12 hours. We looked at if the police grade only went up like 3%, or 2%, like it would without larger increases. And if we kept all reserves basically flatlined the last year, this is just, I think, helpful. It's helpful to me to look at that and say, well, what would that actually do if we kind of kept things flat? It would still be at a 4.63% increase. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us to look at, I think, unassigned and restricted funds to see what can we put towards this. Because I don't know, going through the budget, there's not a lot that I look at and say, oh, there's $300,000 we can just cut, which is really what we'd have to do to get anything significantly decreased. Because even those cuts that I just talked about, I think they total also like 160. 230.
We would have to either come up with savings or unassigned funds of $650,000
Yeah,
to get us to 3.44.
Telethon.
water sewer tours.
Well, except that money would not, it would have to go to water and sewer.
Sewer, so yeah, sorry.
Then we can charge them $640,000 for administrative services.
Well, I've been saying for years, we should do weddings at the wastewater treatment plant. People, people get married in all kinds of weird places. They got married in a giant vat of mayonnaise.
We should annex the round church and jack the price up for weddings.
So,
But I mean, we're gonna have to make some hard choices.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're goals that are just, we desperately want to fund the police department to the point where we'll get good quality officers, but that money is not going to be found under our sofa
There is
cushions.
a balance between funding. I think, this funding carries over a full-time chief and 4 officers, right? At a higher rate. And I think knowing what we know,
Do we fund only 3 officers at this time and just bite the bullet?
right now, we are actually on a bi-weekly basis funding 1 interim chief. So it's like any hiring above that is a win at this point. I mean, shooting for 4, we are kind of just budgeting money for the next year.
And for that creates unassigned funds and vacancy savings, but do we bite the bullet and say, let's fund 3 officers instead of 4? I mean, we've got to make cuts somewhere.
or we could,
Budget, I agree.
or even like 3.5,
Right.
we could look at that, and that way, there's the possibility of being fully staffed at the beginning of the fiscal year and then hiring another one halfway through. However we do it, there's gonna have to be something we don't do.
Yeah, I mean, we should run the
But
numbers
to
for
be
cutting
clear,
an
though-
officer and a cruiser.
To be clear, that's not a part-time as the half. It's a full-time person for only half the year.
Or we're cutting them down.
Right. And we did run the scenarios, how that would change the benefits and what was it, like 63,000?
There's some genuinely stupid things we could do, like saying, let's buy only 90% of the budgeted amount of salt. And then what happens when we wind up needing all that? I mean, it's not going to be an easy thing.
Yeah, I think if we were to go to, let's see, I did run a couple quick numbers on.
I'm looking for it. Whoop.
That's the one I did.
Uh, 63,610. If but the reality of that is the next year we would be
Back to,
at 5 full.
I guess the part that gets me is we talk about reserve funds and unassigned funds and budgeting half an officer this year, but we are just kicking the can down the road.
We are.
And I haven't, this is philosophical debate or whatever you want, personal, but like I haven't decided if I'm gonna run again, but for select board, which I need to decide. But I mean, I would like to think that if I did, I would have to be dealing with this problem again.
Mhm.
And so I'm kind of just shooting myself in the foot by doing that, and that's painful.
Now FEMA money could come in
That
and
doesn't-
we could
that
have
doesn't-
those unassigned funds by the
Yeah.
time we get to December.
doesn't fix-
I'm not holding my,
That's,
Well,
I know what you're saying.
obligated.
So that
no,
doesn't-
but that's still,
that doesn't fix it, that kicks it down the road.
that's exactly.
We gotta figure the budget out so that next year we're like, we're not coming from a place where we used $1 million to buy down the budget.
Yeah.
So it's been great working with the department heads and working on the capital plan, and it's definitely the next 4 or 5 years. But if you look at it after that, it drops and it really levels off for a long time. One thing we haven't put in there at all is we got to build the capital plan for this building.
So.
And how much will rent,
Thought you took-
how much will rent cover and
You're
how much?
already touching the third rail, Connie. Just grab the fourth rail too, if that even exists.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't a real thing.
So, and you're talking
Yeah.
about total taxes contributed to the capital fund.
Exactly, yeah. If we go to if you go to the summary page, it's fiscal year 27 to 31,
Here.
which is the 5 years that are of our capital plan. I've looked at every reserve and I just, I don't see a way around it. But part of why it went up is because we didn't fund the police last year. We didn't fund the library. We didn't fund
Shot ourselves.
fire safety. And you're right, we kicked it down the road. The reality is it still would have been a lot higher for fiscal year 27 through 31.
All right.
That's a fun note to end on.
The other thing,
No one ever said this
a
was
lot.
easy, so.
Yeah.
Bard looks at the cruisers a lot. Did you get a chance to look at the capital plan for the cruisers? What Matt was thinking? I think it was what, 1112.
Are you asking?
You usually weigh in on this as to what we could look at for a schedule for the cruisers and
Just back, you just dipped that in.
where'd he go?
Sure.
Got kicked.
There he is.
We lost you for a second, Bard.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, I've pondered this and I'm in an awkward position because you recalled that due to a potential conflict of interest or appearance of a conflict of interest, I feel compelled to recuse myself from discussions of the police department budget at this point.
Understood.
I'm still here if you want me to comment on the police department cruisers.
Sure.
So as you guys recall, we sold the Tesla, so we're down to 3 cruisers. Next year, I am very confident, I don't know, hopefully very confident that we get enough that we have the need for 4 cruisers. So I'm going to have to buy a new cruiser at some point next year. If the other piece of that puzzle is as the cruisers that we are using age, they're going to be going to the point they're going to be out of service or costing us a lot in maintenance to keep them on the road. So having at least 1 cruiser for next year as a place to buy sets us up for a future where if we have 5 positions,
We
Lost you,
him.
Matt.
No, you fully lost that. Had some gremlins in the system tonight.
did I lose you guys for a minute?
Oh, now we got you back.
Sorry. So I don't know where you guys left off, but basically, since we're down to 3 active working cars right now, next year I'm gonna need at least 1 more, assuming that we get 4 people on the road. Also, to keep the cycle in place, so we're not replacing 3 cars in a year at any given point, and spreading out the purchases to be more consistent as we move forward.
What is our refresh my memory as to our replacement cycle in cars?
For cruisers.
Yeah.
A new car, 1.5 cruisers every
What's your
year.
service life on them, kind of.
4.
Of 4 years, yeah.
And we're doing 1.5 cruisers every year, is that right?
That's basically what we fund the reserve fund at.
Yeah.
So we can buy 1 in 27 and then still have money left over to go 1.5 in 28. 28, and that price is 2 cruisers.
So it's a new one and then replacing 2 existing ones, and then a new one, and then a new one, and then we're back on schedule.
I hear prices on Cybertrucks are really coming down.
Sure they are.
There's a reason for that.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome.
A lot of the yellow on here is, keep in mind, this is a capital plan. It doesn't mean that everything that's on there is being paid for with reserve. So if you look down to the revenue sources, some of those items are being paid for out of budgeted expense lines.
Well, as we're getting toward the end of the meeting, I just want to thank the department heads and Connie and Josh for giving us all this to consider. It's clear that, one meeting is never going to be enough to handle all this, but it gives us a lot to be thinking about.
Do I have any questions, comments, requests for how the new budget setup is looking?
We could always cut select board pay.
Bring it to 0, balance the budget.
I don't have any questions that we haven't already asked.
I don't. Thank you, Connie.
Welcome.
Are we ready for a motion to adjourn, or do we have other things we want to do?
We don't have anything else on the agenda, so if there's no other questions from the members or the audience, then we are ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second that.
Calling you to vote.
Bart, aye.
J.I.
David, I.
Adam, I. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.